Gravity Falls ran for exactly 40 episodes across 2 seasons, and every single one contains hidden details most viewers missed on their first watch. Some are tucked into background paintings, others flash by in single frames. A few require decoding ciphers that took the fandom months to crack. The show ended in 2016, but people are still discovering new secrets. Alex Hirsch created Gravity Falls based on his childhood summers in Piedmont, California, but the town itself draws from multiple real locations. The Mystery Shack's design came from the Oregon Vortex, the actual roadside attraction that claims to defy physics. Hirsch visited with his twin sister Ariel during a research trip, and within an hour he knew he'd found his setting. The gift shop layout, the crooked architecture, the forest pressing in from all sides. He sketched the building in his notebook before they even finished the tour. The show's production timeline was unusually long for animation. Each episode took roughly 8 to 9 months from initial concept to final broadcast. Writers would break stories in the room, then individual writers would draft scripts. Those scripts went through multiple revisions before storyboard artists even touched them. The boarding process alone could take 2 months per episode, with artists drawing thousands of panels to map out every camera angle and character expression. Disney initially ordered only 13 episodes, which explains why Season 1 moves with such urgency. Hirsch structured those episodes knowing he might never get more, so he loaded them with mythology and character development most shows would spread across multiple seasons. Journal 3 appears in the first episode. Bill Cipher shows up in episode 19. The portal activates in the Season 1 finale. If the show had been canceled after that initial order, viewers would have gotten a condensed but complete story. The voice cast recorded their lines separately in most cases, which is standard for animation, but created interesting challenges. Jason Ritter voiced Dipper alone in a booth, reacting to temporary dialogue his scene partners had recorded weeks earlier. Kristen Schaal did the same for Mabel. Alex Hirsch voiced 4 major characters himself: Grunkle Stan, Seuss, Bill Cipher, and Old Man McGucket, which meant he sometimes had entire conversations with himself. The editors would splice together takes from different sessions, matching rhythm and energy to create the illusion of real-time interaction. Hirsch's voice work as Grunkle Stan drew directly from his own grandfather. The gruff tone, the muttered asides, the way Stan trails off mid-sentence when he realizes he's said too much. Hirsch recorded his grandfather telling stories during family dinners, then studied the cadence and delivery. Stan's character design also references this grandfather, particularly the thick frame glasses and prominent nose. When Hirsch showed early Stan designs to his family, his grandmother immediately recognized who it was supposed to be. The animation studio, Digital Emation in South Korea, handled the actual frame-by-frame animation after receiving storyboards and color keys from the American team. This split workflow is common in television animation, but Gravity Falls demanded more detail than most shows. Background paintings needed to hide symbols and coded messages. Character animation required subtle acting choices that served both comedy and drama. The overseas team would sometimes send back questions about specific shots, asking whether a background element was intentionally creepy or accidentally creepy. Every episode title hides a secret message when you apply the right cipher. Season 1 uses 3 different codes. Episodes 1 through 6 use the Caesar cipher, shifted back 3 letters. Episodes 7 through 13 use the @bash cipher, where A becomes Z, B becomes Y, and so on. Episodes 14 through 19 use the A1Z26 cipher, converting letters to numbers. The season finale uses a combination requiring fans to work together online, pooling knowledge to crack it. These ciphers weren't just fun additions. They taught viewers to look closer, to assume everything meant something. When a painting hangs crooked in the background, it's crooked for a reason. When a character wears a specific color, that color choice matters. The show trained its audience to be detectives, which paid off when later episodes required remembering tiny details from 30 episodes back. The writer's room operated with unusual freedom for a Disney show. Network executives attended some story meetings but generally trusted Hirsch's vision, especially after the first season's ratings exceeded expectations. This hands-off approach let the team tackle surprisingly dark material: body horror, existential dread, character death, psychological manipulation. The show maintained its Y7 rating through careful framing and context, but it never talked down to viewers. Mabel's sweater collection became an unexpected production challenge. She wears a different sweater in almost every episode, each featuring unique designs that animators had to keep consistent across hundreds of shots. The production team created a sweater database with color references and pattern specifications. Some sweaters contained hidden jokes, shooting stars, rainbows, creatures that wouldn't appear in the show until episodes later. Fans started cataloging every sweater design, creating wikis that documented which episode featured which pattern. Dipper's pine tree hat came from Hirsch's childhood. He wore a similar hat during those Piedmont summers, and it became his signature look among relatives and family friends. The hat serves multiple purposes in the show. It's a visual identifier that reads clearly in silhouette. It represents Dipper's desire to appear older and more capable than he is. And it hides the birthmark on his forehead, the Big Dipper constellation that gives him his nickname and marks him as somehow significant in the show's mythology. The Mystery Shack itself functions as a character, not just a location. Its layout shifts slightly between episodes, with rooms appearing or disappearing based on story needs. Fans noticed this early and created floor plans, trying to map the building's geography, but their diagrams never quite worked. Doors led to different places. Hallways extended longer than the building's exterior allowed. Some viewers thought this was sloppy continuity. Others theorized the shack existed in flux, literally changing based on the supernatural energy soaking through its walls. Stan's secret laboratory remained hidden for 19 episodes before viewers saw inside. The show dropped hints throughout season 1. Strange sounds from the gift shop's employees-only door, machinery humming beneath the floorboards, McGucket's cryptic warnings about what Stan was building. When the portal finally activated in the season 1 finale, it recontextualized everything that came before. Stan wasn't just a con man running a tourist trap. He'd been working towards something specific since before the twins arrived. The journal prop went through multiple design iterations. Early versions looked too much like standard grimoires from fantasy media. Hirsch wanted something that felt handmade, assembled by someone documenting discoveries in real time. The final design features irregular handwriting, margin notes, coffee stains, and pages that look physically worn. Different sections use different ink colors, suggesting the author worked on it across many years. Some entries are clinical and scientific, others border on paranoid rambling. Bill Cipher's design took inspiration from the Eye of Providence, the all-seeing eye symbol found on American currency. Hirsch wanted a villain who felt ancient and unknowable, something that existed before human concepts of good and evil. Making Bill two-dimensional in a three-dimensional world emphasized his otherworldly nature. He doesn't follow the same rules as everyone else, literally operating on a different plane of existence. The Dreamscapers episode introduced Bill properly, showing his powers and personality. He makes a deal with Gideon, possesses Seuss, and invades Stan's mind, all in 22 minutes. The episode needed to establish Bill as a credible threat while keeping him entertaining enough to carry future appearances. Hirsch voiced Bill with manic energy, shifting from playful to menacing mid-sentence. The performance makes Bill feel unstable, like he might do anything at any moment. Background jokes required multiple viewings to catch. Signs in shop windows advertise businesses that shouldn't exist. Newspaper headlines reference events from previous episodes. Graffiti contains messages in code. The production team hid these details, knowing most viewers would never notice them, but the ones who did would feel rewarded for paying attention. It created a treasure hunt mentality where fans screenshotted every frame looking for hidden content. Wendy's character almost didn't make it past early development. Initial drafts of the show focused more tightly on the twins and Stan, with supporting characters rotating in and out. But Hirsch realized the show needed someone who represented what Dipper aspired to be. Wendy is older, cooler, effortlessly confident. She's everything Dipper wants and can't have, which makes her perfect for his character arc. Linda Cardellini brought a laid-back vocal quality that made Wendy feel genuinely relaxed rather than trying too hard to seem cool. The time travel episode, The Time Traveler's Pig, contains one of the show's most impressive continuity tricks. Background events from the episode's opening fair sequence repeat, with slight variations each time Dipper and Mabel jump back. A balloon floats by at the exact same moment. Pacifica walks past wearing the same expression. These weren't recycled animation shots. The team animated each iteration separately, keeping elements consistent while changing the details that mattered to the plot. Viewers who watched carefully could spot the differences and predict which timeline they were seeing. Suze became a fan favorite despite starting as comic relief. His earnest positivity contrasts with the show's darker elements, providing emotional balance. But the character has depth beyond the jokes. His absent father, his loyalty to the Pines family, his fear of growing up and leaving childhood behind. The show lets Suze be funny and vulnerable, often in the same scene. Hirsch based the character on a real person named Jesus Chambrot, who worked as a construction supervisor at CalArts when Hirsch was a student there. Music in Gravity Falls does more than set mood. Brad Breek composed the main theme, but each episode features original score tailored to specific scenes. The show uses leitmotifs, recurring musical phrases associated with characters or concepts. Bill Cipher has his own theme that plays whenever he appears, a discordant melody that sounds wrong on purpose. The portal has a low, ominous drone that builds tension without overwhelming dialogue. McGucket's banjo music shifts from comedic to melancholy depending on context. The gnomes from episode 1 establish the show's approach to monsters. They're simultaneously cute and disturbing, with childlike voices and dead eyes. Their plan to kidnap Mabel and make her their queen is played for comedy, but the underlying horror is real. This tonal balance defines Gravity Falls. It can be funny and frightening in the same breath, trusting viewers to handle both. Gideon Gleeful appears in episode 4 as Gravity Falls' second biggest mystery. He's a child psychic running his own tent revival show, and he's dangerously obsessed with Mabel. The character could have been a one-off antagonist, but Hirsch saw potential for something bigger. Gideon has his own journal, Journal 2, which raises questions about how many journals exist and who wrote them. His supernatural abilities are real, not tricks, which means someone gave him actual power. The Society of the Blind Eye episode revealed that McGucket founded an organization dedicated to erasing memories. Anyone who saw something they couldn't handle could visit the society and have that specific memory removed. The concept is horrifying when you consider the implications. How many Gravity Falls residents are walking around with holes in their memory? What did they see that scared them badly enough to choose forgetting? These revelations built toward a central mystery that wouldn't be fully answered until the final episodes. Who wrote the journals? What happened 30 years ago? Why did Stan spend 3 decades building a dangerous machine in his basement? The show parceled out information carefully, giving viewers enough to theorize but never enough to be certain. Online communities formed around sharing theories and evidence. Some fans got remarkably close to the truth months before the show confirmed it. Hirsch engaged with the fandom directly through social media and convention appearances. He'd drop hints about upcoming episodes, confirm or deny theories, and occasionally leak concept art. This interaction made fans feel like collaborators in the storytelling process. When they solved a cipher, Hirsch would acknowledge it. When they noticed a hidden detail, he'd confirm it was intentional. The relationship between creator and audience became part of the show's identity. The animation quality improved noticeably between seasons. Season 2 features more complex character animation, richer backgrounds, and more ambitious action sequences. The production team had learned what worked and what didn't, and Disney's increased budget reflected the show's success. Episodes like Not What He Seems and Weirdmageddon showcase what the team could accomplish when given time and resources. Gravity Falls never had filler episodes. Every installment advanced character development, mythology, or both. Even seemingly standalone stories like the Gulf War or sock opera contained details that mattered later. The show rewarded viewers who watched in order and paid attention, but it also worked as individual episodes for casual viewers. That balance is difficult to achieve, and it's part of why the show maintains such rewatchability. The decision to end after 2 seasons came from Hirsch himself. Disney wanted more, and the ratings could have supported additional seasons. But Hirsch had told the story he wanted to tell. Stretching it further would have meant inventing new conflicts and delaying resolutions viewers had been promised. He chose artistic integrity over financial opportunity, which is rare in television. That choice meant every element of the show's endgame could be planned in advance. The final season's arc was mapped before episodes went into production. Writers knew which mysteries would be solved when, which characters would get focus, and how everything would resolve. This advanced planning shows in the execution. Plot threads from the first episode pay off in the last. Character arcs reach satisfying conclusions. The finale feels inevitable, like the only way the story could have ended. But before we get to endings, There's so much more to explore in how Gravity Falls was actually made. The production pipeline for Gravity Falls differed significantly from most animated series. Traditional animation workflows involve multiple studios across different countries, with various teams handling different aspects. Disney television animation operated differently. Most of the work stayed in-house or with closely managed partners, giving the creative team unusual control over the final product. Storyboarding came first. Writers would complete scripts, then board artists would translate written pages into visual sequences. These weren't rough sketches. Gravity Falls storyboards were detailed, showing character expressions, camera angles, and comedic timing. The board artists functioned as visual directors, making choices about pacing and framing that would survive into the finished episode. Alex Hirsch personally reviewed every storyboard. He'd provide notes on character consistency, joke timing, and whether scenes matched his vision. This hands-on approach meant nothing made it to animation without his approval. Some showrunners delegate heavily. Hirsch stayed involved in every department, which slowed production but ensured quality control. Voice recording happened early in the process, before animation began. Most animated shows record actors separately for scheduling convenience. Gravity Falls did some ensemble recording, getting actors in the booth together. The chemistry between Jason Ritter and Kristen Schaal came partly from actual interaction rather than performing in isolation. You can hear it in their delivery. The sibling banter sounds natural because they were playing off each other in real time. Hirsch voiced multiple characters himself, which created scheduling challenges but saved money. Bill Cipher, Seuss, Old Man McGucket, and various one-off characters all came from him. He'd spend hours in the recording booth doing multiple voices for single episodes. The strain on his vocal cords became significant during intensive recording sessions. Bill Cipher's high-pitched manic delivery was particularly demanding. Animation was handled by Digital, Emation, and Rough Draft Korea. These studios received the approved storyboards, recorded dialogue, and detailed notes about how scenes should look. They'd produce the actual animation, which would then return to California for review. If something didn't work, notes would go back and the studio would make revisions. This back and forth could happen multiple times per episode. The color palette deserves specific attention. Gravity Falls uses warm, rich colors that make the Pacific Northwest setting feel inviting, despite constant supernatural threats. The Mystery Shack glows with oranges and browns. The forest contains deep greens and shadowy blues. Even night scenes maintain warmth through strategic use of purple and orange tones. This wasn't accidental. The color scripts were carefully planned to create specific moods for each scene. Background art in Gravity Falls contains absurd amounts of detail. Pause any episode and examine the environments. The Mystery Shack's gift shop is filled with specific, readable products. Dipper's room contains posters, books, and personal items that tell stories about who he is. The diner has menus, signs, and decorations that reward close examination. Most viewers won't consciously notice these details, but they contribute to the world, feeling lived in and real. Ian Worrell served as the show's design supervisor and art director. His influence shaped the show's visual identity. He pushed for hand-drawn elements in a digital production pipeline. Characters were animated digitally, but backgrounds often started as physical paintings that were scanned and refined digitally. This hybrid approach gave Gravity Falls a textural quality missing from purely digital productions. The show's action sequences required more animation resources than typical Disney Channel shows. Fight scenes needed detailed character animation with multiple moving parts. The bunker episode features Dipper fighting the shapeshifter, which transforms repeatedly during combat. Each transformation required new character designs and animation. The finale's apocalyptic battles involved dozens of characters and creatures moving simultaneously. These sequences took weeks to animate properly. Music played a crucial role in establishing tone. Brad Breek composed the show's score, creating themes for characters and locations. The main theme is instantly recognizable, establishing mystery and adventure in 30 seconds. But Breek also composed hours of incidental music. Each episode needed unique musical cues for comedy, action, and emotional moments. The theme song itself went through multiple iterations. Early versions were too whimsical or too dark. The final version balanced adventure with an undercurrent of weirdness. Those whispered words at the end sparked immediate fan speculation. People reversed the audio and discovered they said 3 letters back. a clue about the Caesar cipher used throughout Season 1. Sound design added another layer of personality. The show's sound effects were often exaggerated for comedic effect, but not so much that they broke immersion. Grunkle Stan's punches sound appropriately cartoonish. The portal's activation sounds genuinely dangerous and otherworldly. Bill Cipher's voice had effects applied to make it sound more inhuman and threatening. These choices accumulated into a distinctive sonic identity. Episodes took roughly 8 to 9 months from script to finished product. This timeline meant the team was always working on multiple episodes simultaneously at different production stages. While one episode was being animated in Korea, another was in storyboards, and a third was being written. Managing this pipeline required careful coordination and planning. Production challenges arose constantly. Animation studios would misinterpret notes, requiring corrections. Voice actors had scheduling conflicts. Hirsch himself was spread thin between writing, voice acting, and administrative duties. Disney's Standards and Practices Department would occasionally push back on content they deemed too scary or inappropriate for the target demographic. The Standards Department flagged several elements that had to be revised or removed. Some jokes were deemed too mature, certain images were considered too frightening. The team learned to anticipate these objections and either avoid them or prepare arguments for why specific elements were necessary. Hirsch fought to keep the show's edge while staying within Disney Channel's boundaries. Budget constraints affected what stories could be told. Ambitious episodes with complex animation or numerous new character designs cost more. The team had to balance spectacular episodes with simpler ones to stay within financial limits. The Gulf War is relatively contained with limited locations and characters. Weirdmageddon required enormous resources for its scale and complexity. Spacing out expensive episodes throughout the season kept the budget manageable. The writing room operated differently than typical animated series. Most shows have large writing staffs with multiple people contributing to each script. Gravity Falls had a smaller, tighter team. Hirsch wrote or co-wrote many episodes himself. The other writers included Matt Chapman, Jeff Rowe, Cheyenne Takuchi, Josh Weinstein, and a few others who rotated through. This small team meant everyone knew the show's mythology intimately. Story breaking happened collaboratively. The team would discuss potential episodes, breaking down acts and beats together. Individual writers would then draft scripts based on these outlines. Hirsch would rewrite extensively, ensuring every episode matched his voice and vision. This process was time-intensive, but maintained consistency across episodes written by different people. Jokes were workshopped extensively. The team would pitch alternatives, trying different versions of gags until they found the strongest option. Background jokes and sight gags were added during storyboarding when artists could visualize how they'd play. Many of the show's best jokes weren't in the original scripts, but emerged during the visual development process. Character development was tracked carefully across episodes. The writers maintained documents detailing what each character knew, how they'd grown, and where their arcs were headed. This prevented contradictions and ensured development felt natural rather than forced. Dipper's increasing confidence across Season 1 wasn't accidental. Each episode was designed to challenge him in specific ways that built toward his confrontation with Bill in Dreamscapers. The show's mystery elements required meticulous planning. Clues had to be placed episodes or even seasons before they'd pay off. The writers knew who the author was from the beginning, which meant they could plant foreshadowing that would only make sense later. Stan's behavior in early episodes contains hints about his secret that aren't obvious on first viewing, but become clear in hindsight. Censors weren't the only challenge. Time constraints affected storytelling. Disney Channel episodes run approximately 22 minutes without commercials. That's not much time to develop plot, character, and comedy. The team had to be efficient with every scene. Exposition was delivered through action when possible. Character moments were embedded in plot advancement. Nothing could be wasted. The production schedule intensified during Season 2. Hirsch wanted to end the show properly, which meant planning the entire season's arc in advance. The team knew not what he seems would be the mid-season climax, revealing Stan's portal and bringing back the author. They knew Weirdmageddon would be the 3-part finale. Every episode before those tentpoles had to set them up properly while still functioning as standalone stories. Crunch time became brutal as deadlines approached. The animation industry is notorious for unsustainable working hours, and Gravity Falls was no exception. The team worked nights and weekends to meet delivery dates. Hirsch has spoken about the physical and mental toll this took. He developed stress-related health issues. Several crew members burned out. The choice to end after 2 seasons came partly from recognizing this pace wasn't sustainable. Disney's marketing department had specific ideas about how to promote the show. They wanted to emphasize the comedy and adventure while downplaying the mystery and darker elements. This created tension with Hirsch, who felt the marketing didn't represent what made the show special. Trailers would focus on goofy moments while ignoring character development and mythology. This improved somewhat as the show's success proved its approach was working. Merchandising became significant during season 2. Disney produced toys, clothing, books, and games based on the show. Journal 3 was released as an actual book that fans could own, containing expanded lore and character details. This was unusual. Most animated shows get basic merchandise. Gravity Falls got products that extended the storytelling and rewarded fan investment. The production team engaged with fans in ways that influenced the show. When fans discovered the cryptograms and ciphers, the team responded by making them more complex and rewarding. When fans created elaborate theories, the team would occasionally nod to them in episodes. This wasn't pandering. The team had their story planned, but they acknowledged the audience's intelligence and enthusiasm in small ways that enhanced the viewing experience. International versions required adaptation. The show was dubbed into multiple languages, which meant translating not just dialogue, but jokes and wordplay. Some gags that worked in English didn't translate, requiring local writers to create equivalent jokes. The ciphers and codes presented unique challenges since they relied on the English alphabet. International versions either kept them in English with subtitles or created language-specific alternatives. The show's success created pressure to maintain quality. Early episodes were made in relative obscurity with low expectations. By season 2, Gravity Falls was a proven hit with a devoted fanbase. Every new episode was scrutinized immediately. Fans would post analyses within hours of broadcast. This visibility was exciting, but added stress. The team knew they couldn't disappoint viewers who'd invested so much attention and emotion. Technical limitations occasionally forced creative solutions. The animation style had established rules about what characters could do and how the world worked. When story needs conflicted with these limitations, the team had to innovate. The show's climactic battles required visual effects beyond what the animation studios typically produced. The team worked with effects houses to achieve shots that pushed beyond normal television animation capabilities. Gravity Falls proved that animated shows could tell sophisticated, serialized stories while maintaining episodic appeal. Networks had long assumed kids wouldn't follow complex narratives or care about continuity. The show demonstrated audiences would engage deeply with well-crafted mysteries and character arcs. This success influenced how Disney and other networks approached animation in following years. The production philosophy valued quality over quantity. 2 seasons of excellent television beat 5 seasons of declining quality. Hirsch walked away at the peak of the show's popularity and cultural relevance. The finale delivered on promises made in the first episode. Fans felt satisfied rather than betrayed. That's rare in television, animated or otherwise. Behind every frame of Gravity Falls was a team of artists, writers, and technicians who cared about craft. The show looks beautiful because background painters spent hours on environments most viewers barely notice. It sounds great because sound designers obsessed over every effect. It feels emotionally resonant because writers revised scripts until every line served character and story. Understanding how Gravity Falls was made deepens appreciation for what it achieved. The show wasn't a happy accident. It was the result of talented people working under difficult conditions to create something special. Every episode represents months of labor from dozens of individuals collaborating toward a shared vision. That vision came from Alex Hirsch, but its execution required an entire team working at the highest level. Now that we understand the production machinery, we can examine what that machinery actually built. The mystery of Gravity Falls operates on multiple levels simultaneously. Surface mysteries keep casual viewers engaged, while deeper layers reward those paying closer attention. This structure wasn't accidental. The writing team built the show's mythology carefully, planting seeds episodes or even seasons before they'd bloom. Understanding how the mystery works reveals sophisticated storytelling that respects audience intelligence. The central question driving the series is simple. What is Gravity Falls? The town seems like a normal tourist trap in Oregon, but supernatural events occur constantly. Monsters appear regularly, strange artifacts surface, the forest contains impossible creatures. Something fundamental is wrong with this place, and the show slowly reveals why. Bill Cipher represents the ultimate threat, but he's introduced gradually. His first appearance seems minor, a one-off villain in a standalone episode. Only later do we learn he's been manipulating events for much longer. His true nature unfolds across seasons. Each revelation recontextualizes previous episodes. Rewatching early episodes after finishing the series reveals clues hidden in plain sight. The journals form the mystery's backbone. Journal 3 appears in the first episode, establishing immediately that someone documented Gravity Falls' weirdness. Who wrote the journals? What happened to the author? Why are there 3 journals instead of 1? These questions drive investigation for the entire series. The answers, when they come, satisfy because they've been properly foreshadowed without being obvious. Grunkle Stan's mystery runs parallel to the journal mystery. He's clearly hiding something. His tourist trap sells fake supernatural merchandise while real supernatural events happen around him. He has a secret room in the mystery shack. He's searching for something. The show feeds viewers small clues about Stan's past while keeping the full truth hidden until the right moment. The reveal of the portal and Stan's brother represents the show's biggest twist. Careful viewers could theorize this twist from available evidence, but it still landed with impact because the execution was perfect. The emotional weight of Stan's sacrifice and his relationship with his brother elevated the reveal beyond simple plot mechanics. We learned information and felt its significance simultaneously. Background details reward attention. Posters on walls contain clues. Graffiti in scenes spells out messages. Background characters recur in ways that seem random until you realize they're connected. The show trusts viewers to notice these elements without explicitly pointing them out. Some details went undiscovered for months until fans examining episodes frame by frame spotted them. The Ciphers represent the show's most direct engagement with mystery-loving audiences. Each episode's end credits contained encrypted messages using substitution ciphers. Early episodes used simple ciphers. Later episodes increased complexity. The final cipher required combining clues from multiple episodes. Solving these messages provided extra information about characters, future plot points, or thematic elements. Fans created online communities dedicated to cracking codes minutes after episodes aired. Foreshadowing operates on multiple timescales. Some setup pays off within episodes. Other setup pays off seasons later. The show plants information that seems irrelevant until suddenly it's crucial. This creates a sense that everything matters, that no detail is truly random. Viewers learn to pay attention because attention gets rewarded. The mystery structure allows for standalone episodes that still advance the larger narrative. An episode about Dipper trying to impress Wendy can also reveal information about the town's history. An episode about Mabel's pet pig can introduce elements that become important later. The show rarely feels like it's pausing the main story for filler because even lighter episodes contribute to the bigger picture. Red herrings exist but are used sparingly. The show generally plays fair with its audience. Clues point toward true answers, not deliberate misdirection. When the show does mislead viewers, there's usually a thematic reason. The false leads about the journal's author, for instance, reflect the character's own confusion and investigation process. The author's identity mystery demonstrates how the show builds and releases tension. We know someone wrote the journals. We know this person understood Gravity Falls' supernatural nature. We know they disappeared mysteriously. The show provides candidates. It eliminates possibilities. It adds complications. When the truth emerges, it reframes everything we thought we understood about Stan, the town, and the series' central conflict. Visual mysteries complement narrative mysteries. The show's opening sequence contains images that won't make sense until much later. Background paintings in the Mystery Shack depict events from the past. The zodiac wheel introduced early on becomes crucial in the finale. These visual elements create a sense that the entire show is a puzzle where every piece matters. Character mysteries drive emotional investment. Why is Pacifica mean? What's Gideon's deal with the Pines family? How did McGucket lose his mind? These questions about characters make viewers care about answers beyond mere plot mechanics. When we learn Pacifica's parents emotionally abuse her, it recontextualizes her behavior and creates sympathy. When we discover McGuckett's tragic backstory, his comic relief role gains depth and pathos. The show balances revelation and restraint. It answers questions but raises new ones. Each solved mystery opens new avenues of investigation. This keeps momentum building across seasons rather than deflating after major reveals. Learning Stan has a brother doesn't end the mystery. It transforms it into questions about their relationship, what happened between them, and how it connects to Bill's Cipher. Thematic mysteries operate alongside plot mysteries. What does it mean to grow up? How do you balance childhood wonder with adult responsibility? Can you change your destiny? These questions don't have simple answers, and the show explores them through character arcs and supernatural metaphors. The mystery isn't just what's happening, but what it means. The show uses unreliable narration strategically. Characters withhold information from each other and from viewers. We see events from limited perspectives. This creates dramatic irony where we know things characters don't, or characters know things we don't. The technique builds tension and makes revelations more impactful. Journal entries provide exposition without feeling like exposition dumps. The format allows the show to convey information naturally. Characters discovering journal pages feels like investigation rather than the writers explaining things. The handwritten notes, crossed out sections, and marginal comments make the journals feel like real documents rather than convenient plot devices. The mystery rewards multiple viewing experiences. First watch focuses on plot. What happens next? Who's the villain? What's the twist? Second watch reveals how carefully everything was constructed. You notice foreshadowing. You catch visual clues. You appreciate how character moments set up later developments. The show gets richer with rewatching because the mystery structure has depth. Time travel episodes demonstrate the show's commitment to internal logic. When characters travel through time, the show follows established rules. Paradoxes are addressed. Consequences matter. The show doesn't use time travel as a cheap gimmick to reset stakes. It uses time travel to explore character and advance plot in ways that respect causality. The weirdness barrier around Gravity Falls explains why supernatural events stay contained. This isn't just convenient plotting, it connects to the town's history, the journals, and the ultimate threat. The barrier has rules and limitations. Understanding these rules becomes important in the finale. The show builds its mythology systematically rather than making up rules as needed. Bill's deals follow fairy tale logic. He can't simply take what he wants. He needs agreement, compliance, consent. This limitation creates drama and allows characters to resist him. It also reflects thematic concerns about choice and free will. Bill represents temptation and corruption, and defeating him requires characters choosing right over easy. The apocalypse that forms the show's climax was foreshadowed from early on. Prophecies and warnings appeared in journal entries. Characters had visions and nightmares. The zodiac wheel hinted at how heroes would unite. When Weirdmageddon arrives, it feels earned rather than sudden. The show built toward this event across its entire run. Supporting characters have their own mysteries that enrich the world. Who is Lazy Susan really? What's the deal with Toby Determined? Why does everyone ignore obvious supernatural events? These minor mysteries create texture. Not everything needs explicit answers. Some mysteries exist to make the world feel deeper and stranger. The show trusts viewers to remember details from episodes ago. It doesn't constantly recap previous revelations. This respect for audience intelligence creates a viewing experience where paying attention matters. Casual viewers can follow the main plot, but dedicated viewers catch layers that reward their attention. Gravity Falls demonstrates how mystery storytelling can work in animation aimed at younger audiences. The show proves kids can follow complex narratives with multiple threads developing simultaneously. It shows they'll engage with puzzles and codes if given the opportunity. The success influenced how other shows approach storytelling, proving serialized mystery works in episodic formats. The mystery structure serves character development. Dipper's investigation of the journals reflects his desire to be special and important. Mabel's relative disinterest in mysteries reflects her focus on relationships and fun. Stan's secrets reflect his protective nature and guilt. The mysteries aren't separate from character. They emerge from who these people are and what they want. Solving mysteries provides satisfaction, but the show ensures emotional payoffs accompany intellectual ones. Learning the truth about Stan's brother delivers plot information and emotional impact simultaneously. We understand what happened, and we feel the weight of it. The best revelations work on both levels. The show's mythology connects to real conspiracy theories and folklore playfully. References to the Illuminati, aliens, and cryptids ground the fictional mystery in familiar territory. This makes the show's original creations feel like they could exist alongside real-world mysteries. It's fantasy that winks at reality without breaking its own rules. The finale brings mysteries to satisfying conclusions while leaving some questions open. We learn what matters most. The central mysteries resolve, character arcs complete, but the world remains slightly mysterious, preserving the sense that Gravity Falls is stranger than we'll ever fully understand. This balance between resolution and mystery feels right. Hidden messages in the finale included one that could only be decoded after the show ended. This final puzzle required fans to work together, combining clues from across the entire series. The solution pointed to a real-world location where a treasure hunt led to a statue of Bill Cipher. This extended the mystery beyond the screen into physical reality, rewarding the most dedicated fans with a tangible prize. The mystery of Gravity Falls works because it's constructed with care. Every clue serves a purpose. Every revelation was planned. The show respects its audience enough to build something complex and trust viewers to engage with that complexity. The result is a mystery that satisfies both emotionally and intellectually, providing entertainment on first watch and rewarding deeper investigation on subsequent viewings. The animation style of Gravity Falls establishes the show's identity immediately. The design choices aren't arbitrary. They serve the story's needs while creating a distinctive visual language that supports both comedy and genuine emotion. Understanding how the show looks helps us understand why it works. Disney television animation had a house style when Gravity Falls premiered. Most shows shared similar character proportions, movement patterns, and color palettes. Hirsch deliberately pushed against these conventions. He wanted something that felt different, something that could convey the show's tonal range from silly jokes to sincere moments to actual scares. The character designs use simplified shapes but avoid looking generic. Dipper and Mabel are instantly recognizable in silhouette. This matters for animation. Good character design means you can identify who's on screen even in shadow or from a distance. The twins have distinct body language and proportions that make them readable in any scene. Dipper's design emphasizes his awkwardness and insecurity. He's slightly smaller than Mabel despite being older by a few minutes. His posture often shows uncertainty. His movements tend toward hesitation. The design supports his character through visual choices that don't require dialogue to communicate who he is. Mabel's design radiates energy and confidence. Her sweaters provide constant visual variety. Each episode features a new sweater with different patterns and colors. This detail serves practical and thematic purposes. Practically, it helps distinguish episodes and creates merchandising opportunities. Thematically, it shows Mabel's creativity and self-expression. She makes these sweaters herself, and they reflect her personality. Stan's design draws from classic cartoon archetypes while adding specificity. He's recognizably a grumpy old man, but details make him particular rather than generic. His fez, his glasses, his perpetual 5 o'clock shadow, these elements combine into someone who feels lived in and real, despite the stylization. The show's color palette avoids the super-saturated brightness common in children's animation. Gravity Falls uses earthier, more muted colors. The forest feels like actual Pacific Northwest forest, not candy-colored fantasy. This grounding makes the supernatural elements stand out more. When something genuinely weird appears, the contrast with the relatively realistic environment heightens the effect. Background art deserves specific attention. The show's backgrounds contain incredible detail and atmosphere. The Mystery Shack feels like a real place with history and personality. Every room has specific clutter and decoration that tells you about the people who live there. The forest surrounding the town has depth and texture. Scenes set outdoors feel genuinely located in a specific environment. This background detail serves the mystery. Hidden symbols appear in background art throughout the series. Careful viewers spot these elements before they become plot relevant. The background artists collaborated with the writers to plant visual clues that pay off episodes or seasons later. This integration of art and story creates a unified experience where everything matters. The show uses lighting to establish mood more deliberately than most children's animation. Nighttime scenes feel genuinely dark and sometimes threatening. The show isn't afraid to use shadows and limited visibility when appropriate. This willingness to let scenes be visually uncomfortable supports the horror elements. Conversely, daytime scenes have warmth and brightness that makes the town feel inviting. The contrast between these modes gives the show tonal range. You can have a goofy comedy scene in bright afternoon light, then cut to a genuinely creepy sequence in shadow. The lighting supports these shifts without feeling inconsistent. Character animation focuses on expressiveness over smoothness. The show uses squash and stretch, exaggerated reactions, and cartoon physics when it serves comedy or emotion. But it pulls back to more grounded movement when scenes require sincerity or drama. This flexibility in animation style lets the show be funny and heartfelt, without either mode undermining the other. Facial expressions carry enormous weight. The animators excel at subtle expressions that convey complex emotions. A slight change in eye position or mouth shape can shift a character from happy to sad to conflicted. This nuanced expression work allows the show to hit emotional beats without over-explaining through dialogue. The animation of supernatural elements uses different rules than the animation of normal characters and objects. Bill Cipher moves in ways that feel wrong and unsettling. His geometry shifts and morphs in impossible ways. The animation itself communicates that he operates by different physics, making him feel genuinely alien and threatening. Other creatures and monsters have distinctive movement patterns that separate them from the normal world. The gnomes cluster and move as a collective. The ghost has floaty, ethereal motion. Each supernatural element gets visual treatment that makes it feel distinct and memorable. Action sequences show real craft. The show doesn't shy from complex fight choreography or chase sequences. These scenes are storyboarded and animated with attention to geography and momentum. You can follow what's happening spatially. Characters move through environments in ways that make sense. This clarity in action prevents confusion and makes set pieces genuinely exciting. The show uses camera movement and framing with intention. Low angles make characters seem powerful or threatening. High angles make them vulnerable. Dutch angles create unease during mystery or horror moments. These techniques are film grammar applied to animation, creating visual sophistication that elevates the storytelling. Hirsch's background in independent animation influenced the show's willingness to experiment visually. Some sequences use different animation styles entirely. Dream sequences might employ different color palettes or movement rules. Flashbacks sometimes use different design approaches to distinguish past from present. These variations keep the show visually interesting across multiple episodes. The opening sequence establishes the visual identity efficiently. In 90 seconds, it shows you the town, the main characters, hints at mysteries, introduces humor and heart, and sets tonal expectations. The sequence changes slightly across seasons, adding new elements that reflect developing plot threads. This evolution rewards regular viewers while maintaining the core identity. Monster designs balance scary and funny. The creatures need to work as genuine threats while fitting the show's overall tone. This balance is difficult. Too scary and younger viewers might be genuinely frightened. Too silly and the stakes feel meaningless. The show threads this needle by making monsters visually interesting with clear weaknesses and specific personalities. The Summerween trickster exemplifies this balance. He's genuinely creepy with his burlap sack appearance and child-eating motivation, but he's also pathetic in his origin and ultimate fate. The design supports both the threat he poses and the sympathy we eventually feel. This complexity in monster design reflects the show's overall approach to character. Environmental storytelling through background details creates depth. The town has a history visible in its architecture and signage. Abandoned buildings suggest past events. Worn pathways show where people actually walked. These details don't advance plot, but make the world feel inhabited and real. The show's willingness to show consequences of violence and danger distinguishes it from sanitized children's animation. Characters get injured, property gets destroyed. These stakes feel real because the animation doesn't shy from showing impact and aftermath. This grounds even the most fantastical sequences in something resembling consequence. Color coding helps viewers track important information. The journals are distinct colors. Bill Cipher is yellow, immediately visible in any scene. Important magical items have distinctive visual signatures. This color language operates subconsciously, helping viewers process information without explicit explanation. The animation of emotional moments shows restraint. When characters cry or express vulnerability, the animation doesn't oversell it. Tears are simple, expressions are clear but not exaggerated. This restraint makes emotional moments land harder because they feel genuine rather than manipulative. Comedic animation goes broad. Slapstick sequences use full cartoon physics. Characters stretch, squash, and deform for laughs. This contrast with the restrained emotional animation creates clear tonal signals. Viewers know when to laugh and when to feel based partly on how scenes are animated. The show's budget limitations forced creativity. Not every sequence could be fully animated. The team developed techniques to suggest motion and action without requiring extensive animation. Smart staging, editing, and timing make limited animation feel intentional rather than cheap. This efficiency in production becomes an aesthetic choice that serves the show's style. Background character designs are specific enough to be recognizable, but simple enough to animate efficiently. Townspeople have distinct looks without requiring complicated animation. This lets the town feel populated without overwhelming the production. You recognize the recurring background characters even though they rarely speak. The Mystery Shack itself is a character expressed through design. The building's ramshackle appearance, impossible architecture, and cluttered interior communicate Stan's approach to business and life. The building physically cannot work the way it's drawn, with rooms that don't connect logically and spaces that seem bigger inside than outside. This impossible geometry hints at the building's supernatural nature before that becomes explicit plot. Visual gags layer into scenes without drawing attention. Background jokes reward multiple viewings. Signs have funny text. Posters advertise absurd products. These details aren't necessary to follow the story, but enrich the experience for attentive viewers. The animation team clearly enjoyed hiding jokes throughout environments. The show uses match cuts and visual transitions cleverly. A scene might end on a circular object and transition to another circular object in the next scene. These visual connections create flow between scenes while adding subtle artistry to the editing. Most viewers won't consciously notice these transitions, but they create subconscious smoothness. Character acting reaches impressive heights in key scenes. The animation of Ford and Stan's reunion conveys decades of complicated history through expression and body language alone. Before dialogue explains their relationship, the animation tells you everything about these men and their shared past. This is sophisticated character animation that trusts visuals to carry emotional weight. The finale's apocalyptic imagery pushes the show's visual style to its limits. Weirdmageddon transforms Gravity Falls into a nightmare landscape while remaining visually consistent with established style. The town burns and warps, but still looks like the town we've known. This consistency within chaos maintains visual coherence, even as everything goes wrong. Bill's visual transformation into physical form uses animation to show power and threat. His ability to warp reality manifests as literal changes to how the animation works. Perspective breaks, colors shift, the normal rules stop applying. This visual representation of his power makes him feel genuinely dangerous without needing extensive exposition about his abilities. The show's anime influences appear in specific sequences. Action moments sometimes use speed lines and impact frames common in Japanese animation. These influences blend with Western animation traditions to create something that feels fresh rather than derivative. The show takes what works from different animation traditions without abandoning its own identity. Flashback sequences use sepia tones and modified character designs to distinguish past from present. Young Stan and Ford look recognizably like their older selves, but with differences that show time's passage. This visual aging is consistent and helps viewers immediately orient themselves in time. The animation of magic uses consistent visual language. Spells have particular colors and effects. Different types of magic look distinct from each other. This consistency helps viewers understand what's happening in magical scenes without requiring constant explanation. The visual rules for magic create internal logic that makes the supernatural elements feel grounded. Dream sequences break reality in controlled ways. The animation becomes more fluid, colors shift, impossible things happen. But these sequences maintain enough visual connection to reality that we recognize the characters and setting. This balance lets dream sequences be surreal without becoming incomprehensible. The show's use of symbols and iconography creates visual shorthand. Bill's triangle, the zodiac wheel, the journal symbols, these repeat throughout the series. The animation team ensures these symbols appear consistently, building recognition that pays off when they become plot relevant. Visual repetition creates meaning without words. Crowd scenes show attention to individual movement. Background characters aren't just copy-pasted. They have distinct actions and reactions. This detail in crowd animation makes the town feel alive. Scenes set in public spaces have energy and personality because the background isn't static. The animation of the bunker from Season 2 creates a genuine claustrophobia. Tight framing, limited lighting, and careful staging make the underground space feel restrictive and threatening. The animation choices support the horror elements by using space and light to create unease. Vehicle animation shows personality. The golf cart stand drives moves differently than other vehicles. It putters and shakes in ways that communicate its age and poor maintenance. These details aren't necessary, but add texture. The animation team clearly cared about making every element feel specific and alive. Gravity Falls proves animation can be beautiful, funny, scary, and emotionally resonant simultaneously. The visual style serves the story without overwhelming it. Every design choice supports character, tone, or narrative. This integration of art and storytelling creates a complete experience where nothing feels accidental or arbitrary. The show looks exactly how it needs to look to be what it is. The show's portrayal of technology reveals character through design choices. Dipper's laptop looks standard and functional, reflecting his straightforward approach to problems. Sue's uses older, bulkier equipment that fits his gentle, out-of-touch personality. Robbie's phone has stickers and modifications showing teenage customization impulses. These aren't random details. They're visual character development that happens in the background while you focus on dialogue. McGucket's inventions demonstrate brilliant design work. Each contraption looks cobbled together from salvaged parts, but functions in ways that reveal genuine genius. The laptop he builds from scrap actually works. His memory gun has weight and presence. These designs communicate that McGucket was a legitimate scientist who lost his mind, not a simple hillbilly stereotype. The visual language of his technology bridges the gap between brilliant past and broken present. The portal itself represents the show's peak design achievement. This massive machine dominates the basement space. Its triangular motifs connect it visually to Bill without being obvious. The animation of its activation sequence builds tension through light and sound. When it powers up, the entire visual palette shifts. The portal feels genuinely dangerous and otherworldly because the design team committed to making it impressive rather than merely functional to the plot. Government agents have distinct visual coding. Their black suits and sunglasses reference men in black imagery, but their bumbling movements undercut the threatening aesthetic. This visual contrast creates comedy. They look intimidating in still frames, but animated sequences reveal their incompetence. The design establishes threat, then animation deflates it. Season 2's bunker episode uses production design to create horror. The space feels genuinely unsafe. Flickering lights, cramped corridors, mysterious stains on walls. The animation team referenced survival horror games for this sequence. The result is television animation that generates actual dread. The bunker looks and feels wrong in ways that put viewers on edge. Mabel's sweaters deserve analysis as character design elements. Each one is different. Each has personality. The production team actually knitted some of them in real life before translating them to animation. This commitment to authenticity shows in the final product. The sweaters look like real knitted garments rather than flat patterns. They move with weight and texture. This detail reinforces that Mabel is creative and crafty, traits central to her character. The show's color grading shifts with emotional tone. Happy scenes are bright and saturated. Tense moments desaturate slightly. Supernatural events introduce colors that don't appear in normal scenes. This subtle manipulation guides emotional response without being obvious. You feel the mood shift before consciously recognizing the visual change. Wendy's character design balances cool teenager with approachable friend. Her flannel shirt and jeans are casual, not trying too hard. Her height makes her physically look up to, reinforcing Dipper's perspective. The gap between her front teeth adds imperfection that makes her feel real. These small choices prevent her from being a generic crush object. She's visually specific, which makes her character work. Fight choreography shows surprising sophistication for a children's cartoon. When characters actually throw punches, the animation team stages these moments with proper weight and impact. Stan's fight scenes look different from Dipper's, reflecting their different levels of experience. Stan moves like someone who's been in real fights. Dipper flails like a kid. This distinction comes through purely in animation choices. The design of Bill's physical form in the finale deserves attention. His three-dimensional body maintains his triangular essence while adding disturbing detail. Veins, muscles, and organic texture make him viscerally wrong. He's geometry made flesh in ways that shouldn't work but do. The design is memorable precisely because it's unsettling. You can't look away from something that violates basic expectations about how bodies should look. Apocalypse sequences transform familiar locations into nightmare versions of themselves. The mystery shack with organic growths and floating debris feels like home, invaded by wrongness. This transformation works because the original design was so clear and consistent. You recognize what's been corrupted because you know what it should be. The horror comes from contrast. Background paintings in outdoor scenes show genuine artistry. Forest shots have depth and atmosphere. The town square feels like a real place with geography and consistent layout. These painted backgrounds aren't just pretty. They ground the animated characters in spaces that feel tangible. The integration between animation and background art is seamless. The show's use of forced perspective creates depth in interior shots. The Mystery Shack's gift shop looks larger than it should because of how the animation team plays with perspective. This technique makes spaces feel more dynamic and interesting than flat staging would allow. Rooms have dimension and presence, character acting. The subtle movements that convey emotion between lines shows the animation team's skill. Watch Dipper's face when he's thinking. Small eye movements and slight frowns communicate active problem solving. Mabel's expressions shift rapidly, showing her emotional availability. Stan's default expression guards his feelings, making his rare, genuine smiles more impactful. These acting choices happen in fractions of seconds, but accumulate into rich characterization. The design of the shapeshifter from Season 2 creates effective body horror. Its default white form is unsettling in its blankness. Its transformations are grotesque, showing incomplete shifts and disturbing hybrids. The animation doesn't shy away from making this creature genuinely upsetting. It's designed to frighten, and it succeeds. Lighting design creates mood throughout the series. The soft, warm light of the Mystery Shack contrasts with the harsh fluorescence of the bunker. Moonlight scenes use cool blues and deep shadows. Candlelight flickers and creates dramatic shadows. These lighting choices aren't realistic. They're expressive. They tell you how to feel about each space. The journals themselves represent exceptional prop design. They look ancient and used. Coffee stains, torn pages, and worn covers tell stories without words. The handwriting inside feels genuinely like someone's rushed notes rather than perfect calligraphy. These books are MacGuffins, but they're designed with enough care that they feel like real objects characters might actually own and use. Animation of water shows technical skill. The swimming pool episode renders water with genuine weight and movement. Splashes and ripples follow physics. Characters move through water in ways that show resistance and buoyancy. This attention to physical accuracy grounds fantastical elements by ensuring mundane elements behave believably. The Northwest Manor's design communicates old money and family legacy. Tall ceilings, ornate decorations, excessive space. The visual language is classic haunted mansion, but the show uses this familiar template to explore class and family pressure rather than just ghosts. The setting's design serves character development for Pacifica. Gideon's stage show uses production design to reveal character. Everything is slightly too big, too loud, too much. His sets overcompensate, just like he does. The visual excess mirrors his personality. You understand who Gideon is, partly through how his performances look. The animation of Stan's memories during the memory gun sequence uses visual metaphor brilliantly. Memories appear as physical objects that can be grabbed and destroyed. Abstract concepts become concrete through clever design. This sequence makes internal psychological processes visible and understandable. Character proportions remain consistent across episodes, despite different animation directors. Dipper is always shorter than Wendy by the same amount. Mabel and Dipper are exactly the same height. This consistency seems basic, but requires coordination across teams. The payoff is a world that feels solid rather than fluid and unreliable. The show's creature designs pull from real mythology while adding original twists. Gnomes are traditional, but their ability to form a giant is unique. Manitors are standard mythological creatures, but their obsession with masculinity adds satirical edge. The design team respects source material while making it their own. Architectural consistency in the town creates believability. Buildings appear in multiple episodes from different angles. Their design remains constant. This environmental continuity makes Gravity Falls feel like a real place rather than a collection of sets. You could theoretically map the town because it has actual geography. The design of the Zodiac Wheel incorporates all major characters into a single symbol. Each icon represents someone essential to the story. The wheel itself becomes a visual promise that these characters matter collectively. This design element plants seeds early that pay off in the finale. Color coding helps viewers track complicated sequences. When multiple timelines exist simultaneously, each has distinct color grading. This visual shorthand prevents confusion during complex storytelling. The audience can follow what's happening because the design team anticipated potential confusion and solved it visually. The animation of Bill's deal-making handshake uses fire and color to show supernatural contract formation. These aren't just pretty effects, they're visual representation of binding agreements. The imagery makes abstract concepts concrete. You understand that something significant just happened because the visuals tell you so. Ford's design as an older, more damaged version of Stan works because of specific choices. Same basic face structure, but Ford's features are sharper, more worn. His extra finger is always visible, never hidden or forgotten. His posture is different, more academic and less streetwise than Stan's. These distinctions are subtle enough to show family resemblance while making clear these are different people who live different lives. The show's use of Dutch angles during tense moments creates unease. Tilted camera perspectives make scenes feel unstable and wrong. This technique comes from noir and horror traditions. Gravity Falls uses it sparingly, making each instance more effective. When the camera tilts, you know something's off. Animation of magic effects maintains internal consistency. Blue flames always mean one type of magic. Gold light means something different. The show establishes a visual language for supernatural elements, then sticks to it. This consistency lets viewers understand magical scenes intuitively. The design of Blendin Blandin uses visual shorthand for time travel. His suit, his goggles, his general aesthetic all reference science fiction conventions. But the execution is specific to Gravity Falls. He fits the show's world while clearly being from outside it. Background character designs show diversity in body types and ages. The town isn't populated by identical models with different hair. People have different builds, ages, and physical characteristics. This variety makes crowd scenes feel authentic. The animation of the pterodactyl from the opening sequence sets expectations. This creature is absurd, detailed, and gone in seconds. That combination, detailed animation of ridiculous concepts treated seriously, defines the show's visual approach. The pterodactyl tells you what kind of show this is before the title appears. Seasonal changes appear in background details. Trees lose leaves. Snow appears and melts. The passage of time is visible in environmental design. This attention to seasonal progression reinforces that the show takes place over a specific summer, not an eternal present. The Mystery Shack's crooked architecture reflects Stan's crooked business practices. Nothing is quite square or level. This visual metaphor operates constantly in the background. The building looks like the man who runs it. Vehicle designs show personality and history. The Stanmobile is old and poorly maintained. Gideon's car is ostentatious. Wendy's friends drive junkers. These aren't just transportation, they're character information delivered through production design. The animation of possession, characters being controlled by external forces, uses specific visual cues. Eye color changes, movement patterns shift. The show establishes how possession looks, then maintains consistency. You can identify possessed characters immediately because the visual language is clear. Grunkle Stan's fez becomes a visual icon. Simple design, bold color, instantly recognizable. This hat appears in merchandise and fan art because its design is strong enough to represent the entire show. That's effective character design distilled to a single prop. The show's integration of 2D and 3D animation elements is nearly invisible. Certain effects use computer-generated imagery, but it blends with hand-drawn animation seamlessly. The technique serves the story rather than drawing attention to itself. Facial expressions during comedic moments push into caricature without breaking the show's reality. Characters can look shocked or surprised in exaggerated ways because the show's style accommodates that flexibility. But these expressions always snap back to the established baseline. The design of the universe, shown briefly in dimension-hopping sequences, uses fractal patterns and impossible geometry. These glimpses of alternate realities are visually distinct from normal reality. The design work communicates infinite possibility through brief flashes of impossible imagery. Animation of the finale's battle sequences maintains clarity despite chaos. You can track who's doing what even when multiple events happen simultaneously. This clarity comes from strong staging and composition. The animation team prioritized readability over spectacle. Gravity Falls demonstrates that television animation can achieve theatrical quality through commitment to craft. Every frame shows care. Every design choice serves the story. The visual achievement is comprehensive, from character design to effects animation to background painting. This holistic approach to visual storytelling creates a show that looks as good as it's written. The animation doesn't just illustrate the story, it tells the story through purely visual means, trusting viewers to read character and emotion from design and movement. That trust pays off in a show that works on every level. Sound design in Gravity Falls operates at a level of sophistication that most viewers never consciously notice, which means it's working perfectly. Every creak, whisper, and musical sting serves the storytelling without drawing attention to the craft behind it. The show's audio landscape builds atmosphere, communicates emotion, and plants narrative information through layers of carefully orchestrated sound. Understanding how Gravity Falls uses audio reveals another dimension of its storytelling mastery. The opening theme establishes the show's sonic identity in 30 seconds. That whistle melody, simple enough for anyone to hum, instantly recognizable, becomes the show's audio signature, but listen closer. The whistle has a slightly eerie quality, not quite cheerful despite the major key. There's something unsettling underneath the catchiness. This duality, approachable but strange, defines the show's entire sound approach. The theme builds from that whistle into a full arrangement that mirrors the show's structure. It starts simple, adds complexity, resolves with a wink. The final notes before the title card hit a specific emotional tone that primes viewers for what's coming. That's economical storytelling through music. Brad Breek's score uses leitmotifs, recurring musical themes associated with specific characters or concepts. Bill Cipher has his circus-like piano motif. The Mystery Twins have their adventure theme. These motifs function like audio shortcuts, triggering emotional associations the instant they appear. When you hear Bill's theme, you know danger is coming even before he manifests visually. The score doesn't just accompany action. It forecasts narrative developments through musical information. Environmental sound creates the Pacific Northwest setting as effectively as visual design. Crickets at night, wind through pine trees, distant traffic from the main road. These ambient layers establish location and time of day without exposition. The shack sounds different from the forest, which sounds different from the town. Each location has its acoustic signature. This sonic geography helps viewers orient themselves spatially, even during quick scene transitions. Character footsteps receive specific attention. Stan's heavy, tired walk sounds different from Dipper's energetic movement, which differs from Mabel's bouncing gait. You could identify characters by footsteps alone because the sound design treats walking a character-specific audio performance. This level of detail accumulates across episodes into comprehensive audio characterization. Voice performance in Gravity Falls deserves analysis as sound design. Directors work with actors to find vocal qualities that enhance character while remaining naturalistic. Jason Ritter gives Dipper a slightly strained quality when lying or nervous. Kristen Shaw's Mabel maintains cheerful energy that occasionally cracks during emotional moments. These aren't broad cartoon voices. They're nuanced performances captured and preserved through skilled audio recording. The show uses silence strategically. During emotional beats, music and effects drop away completely, letting dialogue breathe. These quiet moments create contrast with the show's typically dense audio mix. When everything goes silent except two characters talking, that conversation feels important because the sound design tells you to focus. Silence is a tool deployed with precision. Sound effects for supernatural elements follow consistent rules. Gnomes have earthy, crunchy sounds. Ghosts get ethereal reverb. The shapeshifter creates wet, organic noises. Each creature type has an audio identity that remains stable across appearances. This consistency helps viewers track what's happening during chaotic sequences. You can identify threats by their sounds. The show layers sound effects deeper than necessary for children's television. Background conversations and crowd scenes use actual dialogue rather than generic murmuring. Multiple sound events happen simultaneously during busy sequences. This density rewards repeated viewing because you hear new details each time. The audio team built a rich soundscape that extends beyond what's immediately noticeable. Musical choices for montages show range and taste. The show uses period-appropriate tracks for 80s flashbacks. It employs indie rock for contemporary moments. These aren't random selections. Each song choice reinforces the emotional tone of its sequence while adding cultural texture. The music supervision demonstrates understanding of how popular music functions in narrative. Transition sounds, the audio bridges between scenes, use creative effects rather than generic whooshes. A scene might transition on the sound of a journal page turning or a door creaking. These transitional sounds maintain narrative float while adding textural interest. They're small details that accumulate into a cohesive audio style. The finale's apocalyptic sequences required sound design that communicated scale and danger. Reality breaking apart needed audio representation. The team created distortion effects, reverse sounds, and layered chaos that suggested dimensional collapse. These weren't sounds that exist in nature. They were designed to communicate impossible events through audio metaphor. The success of these sequences depends on sound design, making the abstract concrete. Dipper and Mabel's argument in their birthday episode uses audio space to show emotional distance. As they grow apart, their voices get slightly more separated in the stereo field. It's subtle, but it reinforces their disconnect through spatial audio design. When they reconcile, their voices move closer together in the mix. This is storytelling through technical craft. The show's use of reverb and echo creates depth. Scenes in caverns sound appropriately cavernous. Outdoor scenes have natural openness. Indoor scenes feel enclosed. These aren't arbitrary choices. The reverb characteristics of each location are consistent across episodes, building a coherent acoustic world. Viewers don't think about reverb consciously, but they register the spatial information it provides. Music during emotional scenes knows when to stay simple. A single piano line carries more weight than full orchestration during Dipper and Mabel's vulnerable moments. The restraint shows confidence. The score trusts that less can be more when the emotion is already present in performance and writing. Bill Cipher's voice processing uses distortion and layering to suggest inhuman origins. Alex Hirsch's performance provides the foundation, but technical processing adds the supernatural quality. The voice sounds like it's coming from somewhere else, filtered through dimensional barriers. This processing reinforces Bill's nature as an entity outside normal reality. Background music in the Mystery Shack uses slightly out-of-tune instruments to suggest the building's decrepit charm. Nothing sounds quite right because nothing about Stan's operation is legitimate. The audio reflects the visual design's crooked angles through musical imperfection. Sound design for time travel episodes uses specific audio cues. Temporal displacement has a characteristic whoosh and electrical crackle. Time loops repeat audio elements along with visual ones. These consistent audio markers help viewers track complex temporal mechanics without explicit explanation. The show varies its audio density based on narrative needs. Action sequences use full, complex mixes with multiple simultaneous sound events. Quiet character moments strip away everything except essential sounds. This dynamic range keeps the audio landscape interesting across different scene types. Not every moment sounds the same because not every moment serves the same narrative function. Creature sounds avoid generic monster noises. Each creature gets a unique audio design based on its visual characteristics and personality. The multi-bear sounds different from the gremloblin, which sounds different from the hide-behind. This specificity makes the show's bestiary memorable through audio as well as visual design. The cash register sound that punctuates Stan's commercial moments becomes a running audio gag. It's the sound of Stan's mercenary nature, his constant focus on profit. This tiny recurring effect builds character through repetition and context. Voice acting for possessed characters uses layered performances. When Bill possesses someone, you hear both the character's voice and Bill's voice simultaneously, processed together into something uncanny. This audio design communicates possession more effectively than visual effects alone. The show's integration of diegetic and non-diegetic music, sounds that exist in the scene versus soundtrack, is seamless. Sometimes score becomes source music. Sometimes what seems like background score reveals itself as coming from a radio or speaker. These playful transitions between diegetic and non-diegetic audio add to the show's meta-textual intelligence. Footsteps on different surfaces receive appropriate treatment. Wood floors, dirt paths, concrete, carpet, each surface sounds correct and distinct. This attention to material properties makes the world feel physically real, despite its fantastic elements. The audio mix balances dialogue, music, and effects, so that nothing important gets lost. You can always hear what characters are saying, even during busy action sequences. This clarity comes from skilled mixing that prioritizes narrative information while maintaining sonic richness. Emotional music cues avoid manipulation through restraint. The score enhances emotion rather than manufacturing it. During genuinely sad moments, the music supports without overwhelming. This trust in the writing and performance makes the emotional beats land harder than if the score tried to force feeling. The show uses audio foreshadowing. Sounds associated with upcoming threats appear faintly in earlier scenes. Bill's theme might play quietly in the background before his appearance. These audio hints reward attentive viewers while building subliminal tension. Recording quality maintains theatrical standards despite television production timelines. Dialogue sounds clean and present. Effects have impact and clarity. The technical execution matches the creative ambition. Nothing about the audio sounds cheap or rushed. Sound design for the portal uses mechanical clanking, electrical humming, and dimensional warping effects. This combination suggests both the device's physical machinery and its reality-bending purpose. The portal sounds dangerous and powerful because the audio design makes it so. The show's use of silence during Ford's reveal lets the moment breathe. No music, minimal effects, just the sounds of the immediate environment and character reactions. This audio restraint gives the scene weight that wall-to-wall scoring would have diminished. Background radio and television audio uses period-appropriate production styles. 80s flashbacks feature 80s broadcast quality. Contemporary scenes use modern audio clarity. These subtle differences add temporal texture that reinforces when scenes take place. The Mystery Shack's door has a distinctive creak that appears across episodes. This consistent audio detail makes the location feel like a real place with specific physical properties. You know the doors sound the way you know your own front door. Music during adventure sequences maintains energy without becoming monotonous. The score knows when to build, when to release tension, when to add playful elements. This dynamic scoring keeps sequences engaging across their full runtime. Sound design for the shapeshifter's transformations uses wet, organic sounds that suggest flesh rearranging. It's disturbing without being gratuitous. The audio communicates the creature's horrifying nature through suggestion rather than explicit gore. The finale's music builds to genuine climax. The score's emotional and dramatic intensity matches the narrative stakes. This isn't background music. It's a full musical statement that carries equal weight with visual storytelling. Recording performances for dual roles, like Grunkle Stan and Stanford, required technical precision to maintain character distinction. The voices are similar enough to be related, but distinct enough to be identifiable. This balance comes from performance and audio processing working together. Environmental sounds during night scenes use cricket patterns and owl calls that match Pacific Northwest ecology. These aren't generic night sounds. They're regionally appropriate audio that builds authentic atmosphere. The show's audio callbacks reference earlier episodes through repeated sound effects or musical motifs. These audio Easter eggs reward long-term viewers who notice recurring sonic elements. Music box melodies appear during several key moments, using the instrument's inherently eerie quality to add unease. The choice of music box, childlike but unsettling, perfectly matches the show's tonal balance. Sound design for dreams and mindscapes uses processing effects that signal altered reality. Reverb increases, sounds become slightly distorted, audio space expands. These cues help viewers understand when scenes take place in mental, rather than physical space. The show varies its audio pacing to match narrative rhythm. Fast-paced episodes have quick audio transitions and energetic scoring. Slower episodes use more sustained sounds and contemplative music. This audio pacing reinforces storytelling tempo. Voice performance during comedy uses timing as precisely as any sound effect. pauses, inflections, and delivery speed are calibrated for maximum impact. The voice direction treats dialogue as audio design, not just information delivery. The portal shutdown sequence uses descending audio, mechanical sounds winding down, electrical hums fading. This audio design communicates the portal's deactivation as clearly as the visual effects. Background conversations in the diner use overlapping dialogue that feels natural rather than scripted. This attention to ambient human sound makes public spaces feel lived in and authentic. The show's audio work demonstrates that sound design is storytelling. Every audio choice serves narrative, character, or atmosphere. Nothing is arbitrary. The comprehensiveness of this approach creates a show that sounds as rich as it looks, where audio and visual elements combine into unified artistic achievement. The sound design trusts viewers to process complex audio information while never overwhelming them with unnecessary noise. That balance between richness and clarity, between complexity and accessibility, defines Gravity Falls' audio excellence. The show sounds exactly right because every sound was chosen for exactly the right reasons. The show's thematic architecture operates on multiple levels simultaneously, with surface stories containing deeper philosophical and emotional content. This structural approach respects young viewers while offering sophisticated ideas for older audiences to unpack. The execution never condescends or oversimplifies. Duality appears everywhere: two twins, two authors, two timelines, two triangles. This recurring pattern reinforces themes about balance, partnership, and how opposing forces can complement rather than contradict. The duality isn't accidental. It's foundational to how the show constructs meaning. Trust functions as the central theme driving character arcs and plot progression. Dipper learns to trust Mabel's instincts. Stan learns to trust others with his secrets. The show examines how trust breaks, how it repairs, and why it matters more than strength or intelligence. Family bonds transcend traditional definitions. The Pines family includes biological relatives, found family, and chosen connections. This inclusive approach to family validates different relationship structures, while emphasizing that commitment and care matter more than blood. Growing up hurts. The show doesn't sugarcoat this reality. Dipper and Mabel face genuine loss, real disappointment, and hard choices. Their summer contains joy and discovery, but also pain and sacrifice. This honest portrayal of adolescence acknowledges what young viewers experience daily. Secrets create isolation. Every character hiding something suffers from that concealment. Stan's secrets poison his relationships. Ford's secrets endanger everyone. The show argues consistently that openness, despite its risks, produces better outcomes than protective deception. Knowledge carries responsibility. Learning the truth about Gravity Falls, about the portal, about Bill, places burdens on characters. The show explores how information changes people and why ignorance sometimes feels safer than understanding. Forgiveness enables progress. Characters who can't forgive remain trapped. Stan and Ford's inability to forgive each other wastes decades. When forgiveness finally arrives, growth becomes possible. The show presents forgiveness not as weakness, but as strength. Identity formation requires experimentation. Dipper tries on different personas throughout the series. Mabel explores various interests and styles. This searching isn't presented as confusion, but as healthy development. Finding yourself means trying possibilities. Masculinity gets thoughtful examination through Dipper's arc. He struggles with traditional masculine expectations, feeling inadequate physically and socially. The show validates his intelligence and emotional openness as genuine strengths, while questioning toxic masculine standards. Femininity through Mabel's character refuses simplification. She's simultaneously girly and capable, silly and wise, emotional and strong. The show rejects false choices between different expressions of femininity, allowing Mabel complexity that defies stereotypes. Aging and regret haunt Stan's storyline. His entire adult life was consumed by trying to fix one mistake. The show examines how past choices shape present reality and whether redemption can arrive before it's too late. Ambition without ethics becomes dangerous. Ford's brilliance combined with his ego created catastrophe. The show warns against pursuing knowledge or achievement without considering consequences or responsibilities to others. Friendship requires maintenance. Dipper and Mabel's bond with Seuss and Wendy develops through consistent interaction and mutual support. The show depicts friendship as active relationship requiring effort, not passive connection that sustains itself. Community matters, gravity falls. The town functions as character itself. The weird locals create support network that proves crucial during crises. This emphasis on community challenges individualistic narratives about lone heroes. Weirdness deserves celebration. The show's greatest thematic statement might be its full-throated defense of oddity. Being strange, being different, being yourself, even when that self doesn't match expectations, these receive complete validation. Memory and identity connect deeply. When Stan loses his memories, he loses himself. The show treats memory as fundamental to personhood, while also exploring how memories can be manipulated, suppressed, or recovered. Power corrupts even good intentions. Bill's influence spreads through promise and persuasion before revealing its true nature. The show demonstrates how power operates through seduction rather than force. Sacrifice defines love. Characters repeatedly choose others' welfare over their own desires. Stan sacrifices his identity. Ford sacrifices his pride. The twins sacrifice their individual wants for their shared bond. Love means putting others first. Time's passage brings both loss and gain. The summer must end, childhood must end, but endings enable new beginnings. The show's bittersweet acknowledgement of time's movement resonates with anyone who's experienced change. Truth and deception blur in interesting ways. Characters lie to protect, deceive to help, and hide things from good motives. The show examines how truth and lies aren't simple moral opposites, but complex tools with contextual ethics. Heroism looks different than expected. The actual heroes are a con man, his estranged brother, and two 12-year-olds. Traditional heroic qualities matter less than courage, creativity, and willingness to act when necessary. Trauma's effects persist. Characters carry damage from past experiences that influences present behavior. The show acknowledges psychological wounds without treating them as easily fixed or permanently limiting. Redemption requires action. Apologizing isn't enough. Change behavior over time demonstrates genuine transformation. The show's redemption arcs involve sustained effort rather than single moments of realization. Mystery as metaphor works throughout. The unknown represents possibility, danger, and discovery simultaneously. Gravity falls. The place embodies this metaphorical mystery, containing darkness and wonder in equal measure. Capitalism gets subtle critique through Stan's character. His desperation to profit, his willingness to exploit tourists, stems from economic insecurity. The show links his moral compromises to systemic pressures without excusing them. Science and magic coexist. The show refuses to privilege one over the other. Ford's scientific approach and the supernatural elements occupy the same reality without contradiction. This integration suggests multiple ways of understanding exist simultaneously. Collaboration beats competition. Characters succeed through teamwork, fail through isolation. The show's climactic victory requires everyone working together, each contributing unique abilities towards shared goal. Acceptance precedes change. Characters must accept reality, accept themselves, accept their limitations before growth becomes possible. Denial and delusion prevent development. Honest assessment enables progress. Legacy and inheritance matter. What you leave behind, what you pass forward, shapes future generations. Stan's legacy isn't his crimes, but his love. Ford's isn't his brilliance, but his warning about hubris. Home isn't location, it's people and connection. The Mystery Shack becomes home not through its physical properties, but through the relationships it houses. This redefinition of home validates chosen spaces over inherited ones. Curiosity drives narrative, characters who ask questions, who investigate, who refuse easy answers, move the story forward. Passive acceptance leads nowhere. Active inquiry creates possibility. Monsters reflect internal struggles. The creatures aren't just external threats. They represent fears, doubts, and psychological challenges. Defeating them externally mirrors defeating them internally. Adulthood doesn't mean abandoning wonder. Stan and Ford's tragedy partly involves losing their childhood sense of possibility. Recovery means reclaiming that wonder while integrating adult responsibility. Stories have power. The journals function as stories that shape reality. Characters tell stories to themselves and others that influence behavior and belief. The show examines narrative's role in constructing meaning. Grief requires processing. Characters who suppress loss suffer more than those who acknowledge and work through it. The show presents grief as natural response requiring time and support. Justice and mercy tension runs throughout. Should wrongdoers face consequences or receive forgiveness? The show doesn't choose sides definitively, but explores this ethical question through various scenarios. Choice defines character. What you choose when facing difficulty reveals who you are. The show creates scenarios testing characters' values, demonstrating personality through decision rather than description. Interconnection means responsibility. Your actions affect others whether you intend that or not. The show's interconnected plot reflects this thematic point about how individual choices ripple outward. Vulnerability enables connection. Characters who wall themselves off remain isolated. Opening up, despite risks, allows genuine relationship. The show rewards vulnerability while acknowledging its difficulty. Progress isn't linear. Characters backslide, make mistakes, repeat errors. Growth happens messily over time rather than through steady improvement. This realistic portrayal validates struggling viewers. Belief shapes reality in literal and metaphorical ways. What characters believe about themselves and others influences outcomes. The show explores how mindset affects experience without dismissing material circumstances. Teaching and learning form reciprocal relationship. Dipper and Mabel learn from adults, but adults learn from them too. The show presents knowledge as flowing in multiple directions, rather than only from older to younger. Endings aren't failures. The summer's conclusion isn't tragedy despite its sadness. Accepting endings allows appreciation of what was, and readiness for what comes next. Authenticity beats performance. Characters pretending to be something they're not suffer. Those embracing genuine selves thrive. The show consistently validates being real over being impressive. Fear motivates both good and bad choices. Understanding what drives characters' decisions requires understanding their fears. The show examines fear as fundamental human experience shaping behavior. Hope persists. Despite darkness, danger, and disappointment, characters maintain hope. This isn't naive optimism, but deliberate choice to believe better outcomes remain possible. Complexity resists simplification. Characters, situations, and themes refuse easy categorization. The show embraces ambiguity and nuance, rather than reducing everything to binary choices. These thematic layers build into comprehensive worldview. The show doesn't preach, but demonstrates through story how these ideas operate. Young viewers absorb themes emotionally. Older viewers recognize sophisticated philosophical framework. The execution balances accessibility with depth. Surface narratives work perfectly well as adventure stories. Thematic content adds richness without requiring recognition for basic enjoyment. This dual-level construction respects all viewers. Themes interconnect rather than existing separately. Trust enables vulnerability, enables connection. Sacrifice demonstrates love, demonstrates heroism. The web of thematic relationships creates a unified vision rather than scattered ideas. Cultural commentary embeds naturally. The show addresses contemporary issues through fantasy framework. Consumerism, family structure, gender roles, and power dynamics receive examination without feeling didactic. Emotional honesty grounds thematic exploration. Abstract ideas become concrete through characters' genuine feelings. Themes land because they matter to people we care about, not because they are intellectually interesting. Moral complexity challenges younger viewers appropriately. Not everything is clearly right or wrong. Good people make bad choices. Bad people have understandable motivations. This nuanced morality prepares viewers for real-world's ethical ambiguity. Psychological realism supports thematic work. Characters' internal lives feel authentic, making their struggles with trust, identity, and belonging resonate. Thematic points succeed because psychology supports them. The show trusts its audience. It doesn't explain everything or underline its points. Themes emerge through implication and pattern rather than explicit statement. This respect for viewer intelligence strengthens thematic impact. Rewatching reveals new thematic dimensions. Early episodes gain meaning from later revelations. Character moments that seemed simple become complex when viewed with complete knowledge. This rewatch value comes from thematic density. Thematic consistency across 3 seasons demonstrates intentional design. These aren't accidental patterns, but deliberate construction. The show knew what it wanted to say and built everything to support those statements. Genre conventions serve thematic purposes. Mystery structure reinforces themes about knowledge and truth. Adventure format enables themes about courage and growth. The show uses genre as vehicle for meaning. Visual storytelling reinforces themes. Imagery of mirrors, twins, and reflections supports duality themes. Darkness and light contrast embodies moral complexity. The show thinks thematically across all creative dimensions. Character arcs embody thematic journeys. Dipper's arc explores masculinity and identity. Mabel's examines change and acceptance. Stan's addresses redemption and sacrifice. Each character's story tests specific thematic territory. Humor serves serious themes. Comedy makes difficult ideas accessible and prevents thematic content from becoming heavy. The show uses humor strategically to support, rather than undercut, its thematic work. The thematic architecture creates lasting impact. Viewers remember the show not just for plot or characters, but for ideas it explored. This intellectual and emotional resonance extends the show's influence beyond its runtime. Understanding these themes transforms viewing experience. Recognizing the show's thematic sophistication reveals why it connected so powerfully with diverse audiences. The depth rewards attention while remaining accessible to casual viewing. Thematic ambition separates good shows from great ones. Gravity Falls aimed high, tackling complex ideas through family-friendly framework. That ambition, combined with skilled execution, elevated the show into cultural phenomenon. The themes remain relevant. Questions about identity, family, truth, and growing up don't expire. The show's thematic core ensures continued resonance with new generations discovering it. This thematic foundation supports everything else. Without these ideas animating the show, the mystery would feel hollow, the characters would lack depth, and the emotional moments would ring false. Theme gives everything purpose and meaning, transforming entertainment into art. Section 8 explores how animation as medium enables storytelling impossible in live action. Understanding the show's visual language reveals deliberate choices that enhance narrative impact and thematic depth. Animation freed the creators from physical reality's constraints. Gravity Falls uses this freedom strategically rather than randomly. Every visual choice serves story, character, or theme. The medium becomes a transparent tool for meaning rather than spectacle for its own sake. Character design communicates personality instantly. Dipper's pine tree hat and vest suggest outdoor adventure and youth. Mabel's sweaters showcase her creativity and individuality. Each character's silhouette reads clearly, essential for comedy timing and action sequences. Stan's hunched posture and prominent nose convey age and shiftiness before he speaks. The design philosophy balances simplicity with detail. Characters are simple enough for animators to draw consistently across thousands of frames, but detailed enough to feel specific and lived in. This balance serves both practical production needs and artistic goals. Background characters receive distinctive designs, preventing the world from feeling empty or repetitive. Gravity Falls establishes visual consistency early and maintains it rigorously. The town looks the same across 3 seasons. Buildings, locations, and geography remain stable. This consistency creates a believable world that viewers can map mentally. When the show breaks its visual rules, those breaks carry meaning. Color palette reinforces tone and atmosphere. The Pacific Northwest setting justifies rich greens and earthy browns. Supernatural elements often glow with unnatural colors. Yellow eyes, blue flames, creating visual distinction between normal and paranormal. Color coding helps viewers process complex scenes quickly. The show uses color emotionally. Warm tones for family moments, cool tones for mystery and danger. Dreamscapes employ surreal color schemes signaling altered reality. These aren't arbitrary choices, but calculated emotional guidance for viewers. Lighting design enhances mood and directs attention. The Mystery Shack's interior uses warm practical lighting, suggesting home and safety. Forest scenes employ dappled light, creating mystery and depth. Dramatic moments use high contrast and directional lighting borrowed from film noir. Animation allows impossible camera angles and movements. The show exploits this for comedic and dramatic effect. Extreme close-ups on eyes during tense moments. Impossible zooms through keyholes or into characters' pupils. Camera becomes active storytelling participant rather than passive observer. Visual comedy relies on animation's timing precision. Facial expressions hit exact frames. Physical gags achieve impossible physics for maximum humor. Sues can stretch and squash in ways live actors cannot. This heightened reality makes comedy sharper and more memorable. Action sequences benefit from animation's control. Fight choreography achieves clarity impossible with live action's chaos. The show can slow down or speed up time within single shot. Every punch, dodge, and explosion happens exactly when and how intended for maximum impact. The supernatural elements demand animation. Bill Cipher's geometry-defying form couldn't exist in live action without feeling fake. The portal's swirling energy, the shapeshifters' transformations, the time anomalies, these require animation's freedom to feel real within the show's reality. Visual effects integrate seamlessly because everything is animated. No jarring shift between practical and digital effects. The show maintains consistent visual language, whether showing normal conversation or reality warping magic. This unity prevents viewers from being pulled out of the story. Background art creates depth and atmosphere. Every frame could be freeze-framed and examined for hidden details. The background artists embedded jokes, foreshadowing, and world-building into environments. This rewards attentive viewers and encourages rewatching. The show uses visual shorthand efficiently. Specific symbols recur with consistent meaning. Eyes represent watching and knowledge. Triangles suggest Bill and danger. Circles indicate protection and family. This visual vocabulary develops across episodes until viewers read it fluently. Facial animation conveys subtle emotion. Characters' eyes communicate feelings beyond dialogue. Micro-expressions add layers to scenes. The animators studied real human emotion, translating it into simplified but powerful animated form. This emotional authenticity grounds fantastical stories. Body language complements dialogue. Characters don't just stand and talk, they fidget, gesture, shift weight. This movement feels natural while being carefully choreographed. The animation brings life to every frame, preventing static compositions. Visual transitions between scenes use creative techniques. Match cuts on similar shapes or colors. Wipes that feel motivated by story elements. The show treats transitions as opportunities for visual interest rather than necessary evils. Establishing shots aren't wasted. Each new location reveal tells viewers something about the place. The mystery shack looks mysterious and ramshackle. The bunker appears hidden and ominous. Government facilities feel sterile and threatening. Architecture communicates before characters arrive. The show employs visual metaphor. When Dipper feels small, he appears tiny in frame. When Mabel's imagination runs wild, the world becomes more colorful and chaotic. Internal states manifest visually, making abstract feelings concrete and visible. Dream sequences and mindscapes exploit animation's freedom completely. Reality's rules don't apply. Impossible spaces, shifting perspectives, symbolic imagery, all serve character psychology. These sequences couldn't work in live action without feeling cheap or confusing. Visual foreshadowing plants clues subtly. Background details hint at future revelations. Character designs contain secrets revealed later. The animation team embedded mysteries into the show's visual fabric, creating treasure hunt for eagle-eyed viewers. Typography and graphic design extend the visual language. The show's title card, the journal pages, wanted posters, newspapers, all receive custom design maintaining consistent aesthetic. This attention to graphic elements builds world completeness. Monster designs balance scary and funny. Creatures need to threaten child protagonists genuinely while not traumatizing young viewers. The designs achieve this through exaggeration and personality. Even dangerous monsters have visual humor preventing pure horror. The show uses visual scale effectively. Tiny details and wide shots reward close viewing. Epic moments employ grand scale, emphasizing importance. Scale shifts create visual variety, preventing monotony across episodes. Animation timing controls comedy and drama precisely. Pauses land exactly right. Reveals happen at perfect moments. Emotional beats breathe properly. This temporal control gives the show rhythm impossible with live action's unpredictability. Visual callbacks reference earlier episodes. Repeated imagery creates continuity. Viewers who notice these connections feel rewarded. The show builds visual vocabulary across its run, deepening with each episode. Character acting shows personality. Dipper's cautious movements contrast Mabel's energetic bouncing. Stan's confident swagger differs from Ford's careful precision. Animation allows consistent characterization through movement. The show uses perspective creatively. Dutch angles increase tension. Bird's eye views show vulnerability. Low angles convey power or threat. Camera position becomes storytelling tool rather than neutral recording device. Visual information density varies appropriately. Simple scenes allow emotional focus. Complex scenes pack in details for rewatching. The show balances clarity with richness, never overwhelming viewers but never boring them either. Special episodes exploit animation further. The noir episode uses black and white and genre-specific visual language. The anime sequence parodies that style perfectly. The puppet episode mimics practical effects. Animation enables these style shifts seamlessly. Visual humor often runs alongside verbal comedy. Background gags while characters talk. Sight gags that don't stop the story. The show layers comedy visually and verbally, increasing joke density without feeling overstuffed. The apocalypse episodes showcase animation's scope. Impossible disasters, reality breaking down, epic battles, all rendered with clarity and impact. Live action couldn't achieve this scale on television budget. Animation makes the impossible routine. Visual storytelling sometimes replaces dialogue. Montages convey information through pure imagery. Character moments communicate through expression and action. The show trusts its visual language to carry meaning without verbal explanation. Symbolic imagery reinforces themes. Mirrors and reflections for duality. Shadows and light for moral complexity. Hands reaching for connection and family. These visual motifs operate subtly, supporting thematic work through imagery. The show's visual effects evolve across seasons. Early episodes are simpler. Later episodes demonstrate growing ambition and refinement. This evolution shows creators mastering their medium while maintaining consistent style. Animation allows instant location changes. Characters travel between dimensions, across town, through time, all without practical limitations. This freedom serves the mystery structure, allowing the show to follow clues anywhere. Visual continuity maintains viewer orientation. Despite fantastic events, spatial relationships stay consistent. The town layout makes sense. The Mystery Shack's interior geography remains stable. This groundedness prevents confusion during chaotic sequences. Character expressions push boundaries tastefully. Exaggerated reactions amplify comedy without becoming obnoxious. Subtle expressions add dramatic weight. The range between cartoony and realistic serves different storytelling needs. The show uses visual texture. Rough pencil lines suggest sketches and uncertainty. Clean lines indicate clarity and truth. Different visual textures communicate different types of information or reality. Background animation adds life. Trees sway, water flows, crowds mill around. This environmental animation prevents the world from feeling static or fake. Everything moves slightly, suggesting life beyond the main action. Visual Easter eggs reward frame-by-frame viewing. Hidden messages, cryptograms, and references appear for single frames. This encourages deep engagement and creates community as viewers share discoveries online. The animation handles scale shifts smoothly. Characters can be realistic one moment and super deformed for comedy the next. These shifts feel natural within the show's visual language, rather than jarring or inconsistent. Lighting changes convey time passing. Morning light differs from afternoon or evening. Seasons show through environmental colors and lighting quality. The show uses light to ground fantasy in recognizable reality. Visual weight gives action consequences. Characters react to impacts. Objects have mass. Even in impossible situations, the animation maintains internal physical consistency, preventing everything from feeling weightless and meaningless. The show employs visual rhythm. Action scenes have staccato pacing. Emotional scenes breathe with slower rhythm. Comedy scenes use syncopated timing. This rhythmic variation prevents monotony and guides viewer emotional response. Character design evolution shows growth. Dipper gets slightly taller. Mabel's braces come off. Stan's appearance changes subtly. These small visual changes track character development without verbal announcement. The animation team studied film extensively. Composition references cinema history. Lighting techniques borrow from live action. The show elevates itself by learning from other visual media, rather than only referencing animation. Visual problem solving serves story. How do you show time anomalies, reality breaking, dream logic? The animators found visual solutions making abstract concepts concrete and understandable through imagery alone. Color grading creates atmosphere. Episodes feel different tonally partly through color choices. Scary episodes use desaturated palettes. Happy episodes employ vibrant colors. This subtle color work guides emotional response. The show uses negative space effectively. Emptiness in frame creates tension or emphasizes isolation. Cluttered frames show chaos or overwhelming situations. Composition communicates through what's absent as much as what's present. Visual callbacks to real-world animation history show respect for the medium. References to classic cartoons, anime, and animation techniques demonstrate the creator's love for animation as art form. Character silhouettes remain distinct. You can identify main characters by outline alone. This clarity serves both artistic goals and practical animation needs. Strong silhouettes make action readable and characters memorable. The show balances detail and simplicity. Important elements receive detail drawing the eye. Less important elements stay simple, preventing visual overload. This hierarchy guides viewer attention without being obvious. Visual world building extends beyond main locations. Brief glimpses of other areas suggest larger world. The show implies scope beyond what's shown, making Gravity Falls feel like real place with existence beyond the story. Animation's ability to show impossible geometry serves the supernatural elements. Doors that lead nowhere, rooms bigger inside than outside, space that doesn't follow normal rules. These impossibilities feel natural in animation. The visual style influences merchandise and fan art. The show's clean, distinctive look translates well to other media. This visual clarity helps build franchise beyond the show itself. Emotional climaxes use visual symbolism, the barrier between dimensions, the wheel of symbols, family holding hands. These images become iconic through visual strength and thematic resonance combined. The show proves animation isn't just for children. Complex visual storytelling serves sophisticated narratives. The medium enables rather than limits serious storytelling. Gravity Falls demonstrates animation's capacity for genuine art. Visual legacy influences other animated shows. The adventure comedy genre learned from Gravity Falls' visual language. Later shows adopted similar approaches to detail, foreshadowing, and visual storytelling. Understanding the animation reveals intentionality. Every frame results from hundreds of decisions. The show's visual excellence comes from skilled artists making careful choices in service of story. Animation becomes invisible craft creating visible magic. The show's visual achievements matter because they demonstrate animation's potential. When creators push medium boundaries, all animation benefits. Gravity Falls raised standards for what television animation could accomplish visually. Other shows responded by increasing their own ambitions. Visual storytelling communicates across language barriers. International audiences can follow the story through images, even before dialogue translation. This universal accessibility expands the show's reach and impact beyond English-speaking markets. The animation preserves the show's legacy. Unlike live action, which ages through changing fashions and technology, animation's stylization provides timelessness. Gravity Falls will look intentional decades from now, rather than dated like period pieces. But visual excellence alone doesn't explain the show's cultural impact. The deeper reason Gravity Falls resonates involves how it handles universal human experiences through supernatural metaphor. The show uses monsters and mysteries to explore real emotional territory that audiences recognize from their own lives. Growing up forms the show's emotional foundation. Dipper and Mabel face the end of childhood throughout the series. Summer in Gravity Falls represents the last moment before adolescence changes everything. The supernatural adventures distract from this underlying reality, but the emotional core remains constant. They're avoiding the inevitable end of their childhood closeness. The show treats this transition seriously without condescension. Growing up isn't portrayed as simple or easy. The characters resist, bargain, and eventually accept change. This mirrors real adolescent experience where childhood ends whether you're ready or not. Weirdmageddon serves as externalization of this internal crisis. The world literally ending represents how major life transitions feel apocalyptic when you're experiencing them. Bill Cipher destroying reality mirrors how growing up destroys childhood reality. The metaphor works because it captures authentic emotional truth. Family complexity gets examined without easy answers. The Pines family is loving but flawed. Stan lies to everyone. Ford abandons his brother. The twins enable each other's worst tendencies. Real families contain these contradictions. Love coexists with dysfunction. The show presents this complexity honestly. Stan's redemption arc demonstrates how people change slowly through accumulated small choices, rather than sudden transformation. He doesn't become perfect, he becomes slightly better, which feels more authentic than complete character reversal. Real change happens incrementally. The show explores masculine identity through multiple models. Stan represents tough, traditional masculinity, hiding vulnerability. Ford embodies intellectual masculinity, creating isolation. Dipper struggles between these models, seeking his own path. Suze provides alternative masculinity based on kindness and emotional openness. Multiple versions of manhood coexist, suggesting there's no single correct way to be male. Female characters receive similar complexity. Mabel's femininity includes aggression and chaos. Wendy combines traditional beauty with genuine capability. Pacifica moves from shallow to substantial. The show avoids reducing female characters to single traits or stereotypes. Friendship across age groups challenges typical children's media patterns. Dipper and Wendy's relationship acknowledges age-inappropriate crush while maintaining genuine friendship. The show handles this sensitively, validating Dipper's feelings while establishing appropriate boundaries. Wendy becomes mentor rather than romantic possibility. The series examines ambition's costs through Ford. His genius and drive lead to incredible achievements and catastrophic failures simultaneously. Ambition isn't portrayed as purely good or bad, but as powerful force requiring wisdom to direct properly. Ford's tragedy comes from ambition without perspective. Trust and deception create ongoing tension. Characters constantly choose whether to reveal truth or maintain comfortable lies. Stan builds entire life on deception. Ford's secretiveness damages relationships. The twins learn when honesty serves connection and when secrets protect people. These aren't simple moral lessons, but complex navigation of competing values. Nostalgia gets examined critically. Grunkle Stan literally profits from fake nostalgia selling worthless merchandise. The show suggests that dwelling in past prevents living in present. Yet it also validates genuine appreciation for childhood and simpler times. The balance between healthy remembrance and unhealthy fixation receives thoughtful exploration. The summer setting creates natural time limit. Everything must resolve before school starts. This deadline adds urgency while providing clear endpoint. The temporary nature of summer mirrors how all good things end eventually. Making the most of limited time becomes implicit theme. Small-town life gets portrayed with affection and critique. Gravity Falls contains genuine community and suffocating familiarity simultaneously. Characters know each other's histories, which provides support and prevents privacy. The show captures small-town duality without condemning or romanticizing. Economic class appears subtly throughout. The Pines family isn't wealthy. Stan struggles financially. Many Gravity Falls residents face economic hardship. This background reality grounds the show's supernatural elements in recognizable social context. Magic doesn't erase mundane concerns about money and survival. The series treats death seriously. Characters die permanently. The threat feels real because the show establishes genuine stakes. When characters face mortal danger, audiences believe they might actually die. This raises tension beyond typical children's programming. Sacrifice and selflessness appear repeatedly. Stan sacrifices his memory. Ford sacrifices his research. Dipper sacrifices the laptop. Mabel sacrifices her fantasy world. These aren't easy choices or simple heroics. Characters give up things they genuinely value for others they love more. The pain of sacrifice receives acknowledgement. Mental health themes emerge organically. Characters experience depression, anxiety, and trauma. The show doesn't explicitly diagnose, but portrays psychological struggles authentically. McGucket's deteriorating mental state from memory erasure shows how avoiding pain creates worse problems. Mabel's depression in Weird Mageddon demonstrates how even optimistic people face darkness. The show explores purpose and meaning without religion. Characters seek understanding of their place in reality through science, family, and personal growth, rather than spirituality. This secular approach to existential questions provides alternative framework for viewers from non-religious backgrounds. Morality exists in gray areas. Good people do harmful things. Bad people have sympathetic motivations. Bill Cipher remains purely evil, but human characters occupy moral middle ground. The show suggests ethical living requires constant navigation rather than following simple rules. Art and creativity receive validation. Mabel's crafting, Dipper's journaling, and various characters' creative pursuits get treated as valuable rather than frivolous. The show implies that creating things matters, regardless of commercial success or critical recognition. Intellectual curiosity drives the plot. Dipper's desire to solve mysteries and understand reality motivates the entire story. The show rewards curiosity while acknowledging it can lead to danger. Knowledge-seeking becomes portrayed as worthy goal despite risks. The series handles disappointment realistically. Characters want things they don't get, dreams fail, plans collapse, but life continues anyway. Learning to handle disappointment without becoming cynical or giving up represents important growth. Community support appears through crisis response. When Weirdmageddon happens, Gravity Falls residents band together despite previous conflicts. The show suggests that shared adversity reveals community strength. People who barely tolerated each other become allies facing existential threat. The ending provides closure while acknowledging ongoing life. The summer ends, the mystery resolves, but characters continue existing beyond the story. This realistic conclusion avoids both tragedy and unrealistic perfect happiness. Life goes on, changed, but continuing. Gravity Falls ultimately argues that meaning comes from connection rather than cosmic purpose. The universe might be strange and chaotic, but relationships provide anchor. Family, friendship, and community create significance that exists regardless of whether reality has inherent meaning. The show's philosophy differs sharply from Rick Sanchez's nihilism, where Rick sees meaninglessness and embraces isolation. Gravity Falls sees potential meaning in chosen connections. Both acknowledge reality's fundamental strangeness. They diverge on response. This difference matters because it offers alternative to despairing nihilism. You can accept that existence might be meaningless while still choosing to care about people and experiences. The meaning you create through connection becomes real, even if not cosmically ordained. Dipper and Mabel's relationship embodies this philosophy. Their bond matters not because the universe says it should, but because they choose to value it. The summer they share becomes meaningful through their decision to make it meaningful. This active creation of significance through choice represents existentialism's more hopeful interpretation. The show suggests that facing reality honestly doesn't require emotional detachment. You can see the world clearly and still care deeply. Knowledge and feeling coexist rather than canceling each other. This integration of intellectual understanding and emotional engagement provides a healthier model than Rick's divided consciousness. Gravity Falls also implies that genius without wisdom leads nowhere good. Ford's intelligence creates problems his emotional immaturity can't solve. The show values emotional intelligence alongside intellectual capability. Being smart matters less than being wise. The series demonstrates that avoidance ultimately fails. Stan avoids his past through deception. Ford avoids his mistakes through isolation. Mabel avoids growing up through fantasy. Each avoidance creates bigger problems requiring eventual confrontation. The show argues for facing difficulty rather than escaping it. But Gravity Falls also shows compassion for why people avoid. The characters aren't weak or cowardly. They're scared and human. Avoidance makes sense even when it doesn't work. Understanding this creates empathy rather than judgment. The show's treatment of family suggests that you can't choose your relatives, but you can choose your relationship with them. Stan and Ford spend decades estranged despite being twins. They eventually repair their bond through conscious effort and mutual sacrifice. Family connection requires work, not just biological relation. Gravity Falls implies that childhood ends, but doesn't disappear. Growing up means integrating childhood experiences rather than abandoning them. The twins will change, but their summer together shapes who they become. The past informs the future without imprisoning it. The series validates ordinary people facing extraordinary circumstances. The Pines family isn't special initially. They become heroes through choices rather than destiny. This democratic approach to heroism suggests anyone can rise to challenges when necessary. Mystery and wonder receive protection from complete explanation. The show reveals enough to satisfy, but maintains some ambiguity. Not everything gets explained because some magic disappears when fully understood. This restraint preserves the sense of genuine mystery. The show's cultural impact stems from this combination of accessible storytelling and genuine depth. Children enjoy the adventures and humor. Adults appreciate the emotional complexity and thematic richness. Multi-generational appeal creates shared viewing experience, increasingly rare in fragmented media landscape. Gravity Falls influenced animation by proving serialized storytelling works in the medium. Before, episodic formats dominated children's animation. The show demonstrated that young audiences will follow ongoing narratives and remember details across episodes. This opened possibilities for more ambitious storytelling. The series also showed that animation budgets could support cinematic quality on television schedules. The production values rivaled animated films, despite weekly delivery. This raised industry standards and viewer expectations simultaneously. Fan engagement reached unusual intensity because the show rewarded attention. Hidden messages and foreshadowing made rewatching valuable. Viewers formed communities to decode secrets and theorize about mysteries. This active engagement transformed passive viewing into participatory experience. The show's ending satisfied most viewers by honoring its established themes. Characters grew but remained recognizable. Mysteries resolved without destroying the magic. The conclusion felt earned rather than forced. This successful ending remains rare enough in television to deserve recognition. Gravity Falls demonstrates that children's entertainment can achieve artistic excellence without condescension or compromise. The show never talks down to its audience. It trusts viewers to understand complexity and emotional nuance. This respect creates loyal audience willing to engage deeply with the material. The series proves that commercial success and artistic integrity can coexist. Gravity Falls made money through merchandise and licensing while maintaining creative vision. The show didn't sacrifice quality for profit or art for accessibility. Both goals were achieved simultaneously. Looking at Rick Sanchez and the Pines family together reveals different philosophical responses to similar recognitions. Both acknowledge reality's strangeness and lack of inherent meaning. Rick chooses isolation and detachment. The Pines family chooses connection despite meaninglessness. Neither is provably correct, but outcomes differ dramatically. Rick's path leads to depression, addiction, and attempted suicide, despite supreme intelligence and power. The Pines family's path leads to growth, healing, and mutual support despite being ordinary people. The show suggests that philosophical sophistication matters less than practical wisdom about living. This comparison offers hope. You don't need genius-level intelligence to live well. You don't need cosmic meaning to find satisfaction. You need connection, purpose you create yourself, and willingness to face difficulty rather than escape it. These are available to everyone regardless of intelligence or capability. Gravity Falls argues that the meaning of life emerges from the living of it. You create significance through choices, relationships, and experiences. This meaning is real even if constructed. The love you feel matters, even if the universe doesn't care. The connections you make have value even if they're temporary. The show ultimately presents optimistic existentialism. Yes, reality is strange and meaning isn't given, but you have freedom to create meaning through how you live. This freedom is burden and gift simultaneously. You must choose without cosmic guidance, but your choices genuinely matter to you and those you affect. Human connection provides the foundation for this created meaning. Isolated individuals struggle to generate lasting significance, but people together create meaning that feels real because it has real effects on real lives. The Pines family matters to each other, which makes their mattering real. Gravity Falls closed its story but opened possibilities for viewers. The show models how to face strangeness, build connection, and create meaning in chaotic reality. These lessons extend beyond the final episode into viewers' actual lives where similar challenges wait. The show ended in February 2016, and nothing has quite filled the space it left. Other animated series tried to replicate the formula, mixing mystery with comedy and heart, but something was always slightly off. They had the pieces without understanding how those pieces fit together. Gravity Falls worked because every element served every other element. The animation enabled the mystery deepened the characters embodied the themes. Nothing was wasted, nothing was arbitrary. Alex Hirsch walked away at the peak, which remains unusual in television. Networks pressure successful shows to continue indefinitely, milking properties until quality collapses and audiences leave disappointed. Hirsch refused this path. He told the story he wanted to tell, then stopped. The finale aired, and the story was complete. No cliffhangers promising continuation. No loose threads begging for resolution, just an ending that honored everything that came before. That decision preserved the show's legacy. You can watch Gravity Falls from beginning to end and experience a complete narrative arc. Every mystery resolves. Every character completes their journey. The ending feels inevitable, like the only way the story could have concluded. This completeness is rare enough to be remarkable. The show's influence extends beyond direct imitations. It changed what audiences expect from animated television. Viewers now demand serialized narratives, hidden details, and thematic depth, even in shows aimed at children. Gravity Falls raised the bar, and the industry responded by taking animation more seriously as storytelling medium. The fandom remains active years after the finale. People still discover the show, binge the episodes, and join communities discussing theories and sharing discoveries. The show's depth ensures that new viewers find details previous audiences missed. Each generation of fans experiences the treasure hunt of hidden messages and visual clues. Looking back at everything Gravity Falls achieved reveals a show that understood its medium completely. The animation, the voice acting, the music, the writing, the design, every creative element worked in harmony toward unified vision. This integration of craft and art elevated what could have been simple children's entertainment into something approaching genuine artistic achievement. The show trusted its audience in ways that seem radical in retrospect. It assumed children could follow complex narratives. It believed adults would engage with family programming if that programming respected their intelligence. It knew that emotional honesty would resonate across age groups. These assumptions proved correct, validating the creative team's faith in their viewers. Gravity Falls also demonstrated that commercial success doesn't require artistic compromise. The show made Disney significant money through ratings and merchandise while maintaining creative integrity. This proves that audiences will support quality work, that you don't need to dumb down content to reach wide audiences, and that respecting viewers pays off financially and artistically. The philosophical questions the show raised don't have simple answers. How do you create meaning in potentially meaningless existence? How do you balance individual desires with responsibilities to others? How do you grow up without losing what made childhood valuable? These questions persist because they're fundamental to human experience. Gravity Falls didn't solve them, but it explored them with unusual depth and honesty for family television. The show's treatment of family remains one of its strongest achievements. The Pines family is messy, flawed, and loving simultaneously. They hurt each other and heal each other. They lie to protect and tell truth to connect. This realistic portrayal of family complexity validates viewers' own complicated family experiences, while showing that dysfunction and love can coexist. Stan's character arc particularly demonstrates how people can change without becoming entirely different people. He remains a con man even after his heroic sacrifice. He's still gruff and selfish in small ways, but he's also proven capable of ultimate selflessness when stakes are highest. People contain contradictions. Growth doesn't erase personality. The show understands this in ways that create psychologically realistic characters despite the fantastic setting. The mystery structure that drove fan engagement also served deeper purpose. Solving puzzles together created community. Viewers collaborated online, sharing discoveries and building theories. This collective problem-solving mirrored the show's themes about connection and cooperation. The audience experienced community while watching characters learn the same lessons. Rewatching Gravity Falls reveals how carefully everything was constructed. Early episodes contain clues that only make sense after watching the finale. Character moments that seemed random prove essential to later development. The show rewards attention across multiple viewings because there's always something new to notice. This depth of construction shows respect for craft that's increasingly rare in fast-paced production environments. The show's willingness to be genuinely frightening while remaining appropriate for children demonstrates sophisticated understanding of audience. Kids can handle scary content when it's framed properly and resolved satisfyingly. Gravity Falls never pulled punches with its horror elements, but it also never traumatized viewers. This balance came from understanding exactly how far to push before pulling back. The emotional authenticity throughout the series created investment in outcomes. When characters faced loss or disappointment, those moments landed with weight because the show had earned viewer care. When victories arrived, they felt genuinely triumphant because we'd seen the cost of achieving them. This emotional honesty transformed adventure stories into experiences that resonated beyond the screen. Gravity Falls proved that constraints breed creativity. The limited episode count forced efficient storytelling. The animation budget required clever visual solutions. The need to maintain Y7 rating while tackling mature themes demanded sophisticated writing. Every limitation became opportunity for innovation. The show's legacy includes not just what it achieved, but what it made possible. Other creators saw Gravity Falls succeed with serialized storytelling and hidden details. They realized audiences would engage deeply with animated content. They understood that you could trust viewers with complexity. The landscape changed because one show demonstrated what was possible. Years later, the show's themes remain relevant. Questions about identity, family, truth, and growing up don't age out. New viewers discover the series and find their own lives reflected in the Pines family's struggles. The specifics are fantastic, but the emotions are universal. This combination of the strange and the familiar creates timeless appeal. The show also stands as testament to the power of knowing when to end. 2 seasons was exactly right. Any more would have diluted the impact. Any less would have left story incomplete. Hirsch's decision to conclude the narrative at its natural endpoint preserved everything that made the show special. He chose artistic completion over financial continuation, and that choice honored both the story and the audience. Looking at Gravity Falls comprehensively reveals a work of remarkable ambition and execution. It succeeded as mystery, as comedy, as adventure, as family drama, and as philosophical exploration. Each element enhanced the others, creating something greater than the sum of already impressive parts. The show achieved what it set out to achieve, then stopped. That kind of success is rare enough to celebrate. The comparison with Rick Sanchez throughout this analysis wasn't arbitrary. Both properties grapple with similar philosophical territory: meaninglessness, genius as curse, family dysfunction, the burden of knowledge. But they reach opposite conclusions. Rick embraces nihilistic isolation. Gravity Falls chooses connection despite meaninglessness. Examining them together reveals that philosophical positions have practical consequences for how you live and who you become. Rick's path leads to brilliance and misery. The Pines family's path leads to ordinary lives filled with genuine connection. Neither is provably correct philosophically, but outcomes differ dramatically. The show suggests that being right about cosmic meaninglessness matters less than choosing to create meaning anyway. This pragmatic existentialism offers hope without requiring comforting lies about reality. Gravity Falls ultimately argues for engagement over detachment, for chosen family over isolation, for facing difficulty over escaping it, and for creating meaning through connection, even when that meaning isn't cosmically guaranteed. These aren't revolutionary philosophical positions, but they're presented with unusual clarity and emotional power through the show's storytelling. The series ended with Dipper and Mabel leaving Gravity Falls, returning to normal life, forever changed by their summer. This mirrors viewer experience. You can't live in Gravity Falls permanently. The show ended, but the experience changes you. The questions it raised persist. The emotions it generated remain. Like the twins, you carry the summer with you even after it ends. That might be the show's greatest achievement. It created experience that extends beyond runtime, that continues influencing how you think about family, growth, truth, and meaning. It demonstrated that animated television can achieve this kind of lasting impact through excellence in every creative dimension simultaneously. It proved that commercial family entertainment can be genuinely artistic without sacrificing accessibility or fun. Gravity Falls was special because everyone involved understood they were making something special and worked to honor that potential. The care shows in every frame, every line, every musical cue, every design choice. That comprehensive commitment to excellence across all creative elements created a show that transcended its medium and genre to become something approaching art. The summer of 2012 brought Dipper and Mabel to Gravity Falls for 3 months that changed their lives. The summer of 2012 brought audiences a show that changed television animation. Both summers ended. Both left permanent marks. The show understood that endings aren't failures, they're necessary transitions that give meaning to what came before. Everything ends. The ending is what makes it matter.